All right. What is this? What? Why do I not have room for like the most basic tasks? I don't understand. Okay. Hmm. All right, here we go. Ooh. All right. Ready. Here we go. Is that not following? Yeah. What is going on? Why is this thing not following me like it's supposed to? Like, what is going on? Wait, this one? Nobody I know. Thanks so much. Work! Damn it! You have one job! Work! Damn it! That's where we are. That's, and we're not quite fast enough for that. Yes. There's no reason to stop. Oh, sure. Hell yeah. You haven't bored of this game for a while. I don't want to give up until I've done like I don't know like everything in it, but it's like I don't know. Oh, my- That is not worth that. I don't think there is much Jesus. I don't. Buy less stuff. 9 bucks. 9 miles until big haul miles. Okay. I wonder if I've done this one before. It seems like kind of hard for like the level that these guys are at. It seems like nobody else is like really hitting him. I would say. Yeah, we need to beat the boss. Why is nobody attacking the boss? Where is everybody? Yeah, I'm the only one. Like, I feel like I'm the only one that trying to hit him. Where did everyone else go? I think everybody else was just ignoring it. I legit think that. Like they just were not here. Yeah, way to go, team. You completely fucked it up for me. All right. Not a big deal, but oh shit. Ugh. That is not what I wanted. You know what? I think we're done. I genuinely am not having fun with this bullshit. Yeah, I think we're just gonna call it quits with Raiders. What a bummer. It really wasn't very good. Okay. Meanwhile, this game is like 30 years old and I'm still playing this. Yeah. It's Pokemon Gen 1, but with running shoes. Man, Gen 3 had so many like great like QOL updates, like with the running and just the visual quality. Like I love the original Pokemon designs, but I think in a lot of ways Gen 3 is where it really hit its stride. Like I was shocked when I first played Gen 3 and I realized just how good the new designs were. Because that's the weird thing about Gen 2 is that like it doesn't actually have that many new Pokemon. Like people remember Gen 2 mostly because of the new types and like and all that, but like Kanto, but like the actual Pokemon themselves are not interesting in Gen 2. There's a few standouts, like I think Lugia and Ho-Oh are all-time greats, but yeah, speaking of Pokemon, they've stopped producing anime movies, huh? That is kind of odd. I'm curious if they're ever gonna bring it back. Yeah, I haven't seen Pokemon 3 in forever. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can get a hold of Pokemon somehow. I mean, it's gonna be on Disney, I think. I don't know if it's gonna be the old seasons, but I mean, there's a bunch of ways to watch it. I just don't do it. Like I was watching. I took the time to watch The Adventure to Die today. Fantastic. I was just like shocked at how good it was. I mean, I know I say that every time I watch an anime, but it's just so crazy how good anime is. Especially when it's shit that like people don't really talk about, like Die or Mobile Fighter G Gundam. It's just yeah. I hate normie anime for sure. I don't think Cowboy Bebop was that good. I don't think Trigun was that good, but like but yeah, The Adventure of Die is like peak. Okay. Okay, shit. Ow. I don't know. Maybe we can just keep doing like yeah, I'm genuinely in pain. I don't know why, but it's like I can't physically handle it. Yeah, maybe if I just do it like multiple times a day during streams whenever I like feel up to it. I like that I can't just move my stuff over and just do it whenever, but yeah, we're got to keep at it. I mean, I've been sticking with weightlifting a lot, but yeah, I was thinking today that like I'd like to do some posture work and cardio, and I'm just like, when am I gonna find time for all this? Like I'm busy. And then there's the fact when I do try it, I tend to collapse pretty quickly. It's just, uh, yeah. Once I recover, I'll get back on it, but I don't know when that's gonna go. Uh, Damn it, so frustrating. You're better than I thought. You're not complete shit. How am I better than she thought? Because I've been there like a bunch of times where they don't have unique dialogue. There's like a handful of line changes. Like Lorelai actually says that like she's back from the Sevi Islands. Yeah, I tried making a Pokemon video today and it just did not. I don't have the editing skills to like make good at YouTube videos is the issue. Uh, and plus I'm worn out. I like spent all day like working on the Cattle Have Fangs. And it's coming along really, really well. I'm really happy with it, but like um the simple fact of the matter is that like if I'm working all day on that, I don't want to like come home and start editing like YouTube videos. It's like it's just not gonna like there's a reason I'm streaming so much. It's not because I'm like making a ton of money streaming, because I do make more on videos. It's like it's because I'm just too tired to make good YouTube videos. It's just that's all there is to it. I just haven't produced anything. It's just like I cannot keep up with everything I'm doing. I have the website, I have the YouTube channel, I have the books. Like it's just uncool. I don't even know if I've been promoting the books. Well, I guess I have because the books have been pretty. They're pretty talked about. So it's up with it. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I've been like working out like pretty regularly for like the past month, and I just haven't seen any changes. I guess I feel healthier, but yeah, today's not a weightlifting day, so I didn't go in. I actually wasn't even gonna go do cardio, but I was just like, I could probably do a little bit today. So, uh, well, I'm glad we're done with Splatoon Raiders. Well, I kept like hoping that I would like it, honestly. Like, how much time did I put into it? Yeah, 20. Yeah, 20 hours of that fucking bullshit. 25 hours or more. The fuck. Yeah, the kids in the family, they watch a lot of YouTube on Switch. So every time they use mine, they always use YouTube, and they watch a ton of shit. Like, and they watch gaming YouTubers too. So I'm just kind of like, ugh, they're not gonna find my channel, are they? It's like, not that, I'm not thrilled about that possibility, but uh, yeah, I would never watch YouTube on Switch myself, so that doesn't really make much sense to me. But yeah, like I imagine on like the average kid Switch, like in any household in America, like I think YouTube's gonna be like the most played application, like just because of just how easy it is to just like endlessly watch content. I don't even know what they're watching because like when I try to find something to watch on YouTube, I can't find anything. Like I can't find shit. Maybe it's because I'm autistic, but like I don't know. I don't watch anything. Yeah, last time I saw them on Thursday, I'm pretty sure they played 0 games on the Switch, and I'm just like a single teardrop goes down my eye. It's just like, come on, come the fuck. Like you're disappointing. I mean, I guess it's better than watching SpongeBob or whatever, but like, I mean, that's honestly been my take lately. Honestly, like people bitch about the things that kids do today, but like, honestly, going by like what I'm seeing, it's a lot better than what we did. Cause like, YouTube is better than MTV. It is better than SpongeBob. It is. It's better than TV in general. Cause like, you actually get to choose what you watch, and it can be like anything, and it can be like stimulating. It can be interesting. Like it could be anything, right? Like it's not like fucking SpongeBob where it's just retarded. And I'll be glad when my strike period ends in October, so we can go back to like clipping Kina Casino. Because right now, like I was making enough money to live off of by doing that, but because of those the strike that the quartering gave me, I'm not really anxious to go back to. I mean, I guess I'll just go right back to it like after the fact, but I imagine the Jeremy stuff is gonna completely fall off by then. It kind of already has, honestly. I noticed the views were going down when it happened. Yeah, but like I do need to like pivot to something else. I need to find something that works. Is just kind of my problem. Cause like all I'm gonna do is just play video games all the time and write books. Cause that's just like my autistic interest. Like I'm not really interested in making content. Is just like what I'm kind of realizing. Cause like I just make like really fringe videos that like nobody actually wants to watch, and that's fine. I'm happy to do it, but like I don't know. It's just like I never really wanted to be a career YouTuber. So it's just like I don't I'm happy that like the books are like picking up the slack on that front. So I don't have to be like a big YouTuber, but like at the same time it's like I don't know. It's just, I really would have preferred to have a job. It is a shame that there's just nothing in the area. Like I have been like looking all year for like anything and there's just nothing. They're just not hiring. I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, man. I'm really enjoying everything I'm doing, but it's like at the same time I don't like the uncertainty of it. And just like, the panic of getting that strike and just like immediately after I started like exploding too. It was just such a like it was such a buzzkill and I just don't like even if I became successful on YouTube, like what would that result in like realistically? Like more problems probably. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty happy with the way things are now. Yeah, right now I just need to get to the point where I can put out a book, have it get like a certain amount of pre-orders like day one, and I should be set. I think that's the big thing right now is that I need to like maximize my day one sales, and I'm getting there, but it's ugh. Like the issue is that I have to rush it, and that's something that I don't want to do anymore. I mean, I took a lot of time with the Cattle Have Fangs to make it as good as possible, but that novel's kind of a mess, honestly. I'm looking at like the draft now, and it's like it's so all over the place, and like I don't know, it doesn't really work. Yeah, every time I go back to it, I just kind of feel the same way about it. Is that like it just didn't come together very well. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and like release it anyway. Like once I fix all the continuity problems in it. I mean that it's like I don't know. I'm struggling with it, and I have been since I started working on it. I've never enjoyed this project. Uh, yeah, I'll be glad when it's over. I can work on something like actually interesting. So what do we have on the Switch too? Let's see here. Grand Blue, Star Fox. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that. Oh, that's right. Isn't like Street Fighter? Isn't the DLC for that coming out tonight? Then I re-download Rhythm Heaven. Okay. Yeah, I think all this is fine. Okay, this is all stuff I'm gonna play again. Okay. Casey. Arcanine. I could probably just Thunderbolt. Yeah, I'm at the point now where I wreck all four of the Elite Four with my Elite, like, level 100 team. Yeah, Pokemon really is one of those games that you kind of wish would go on forever. I was always kind of pissed growing up, like when you get a new Pokemon game and you wouldn't play as like the old protagonist, you couldn't carry over your like awesome team from the last game. You had to play as some like Shufflefluck with a backwards hat or like white hair or whatever. Actually, like yeah, the kid like I did used to think the kid in Gen 3 had a white hair and it wasn't a hat. And it's just like it just blows my mind that it was a hat the entire time. Like I actually liked the white hair look, so the fact that it wasn't is just I thought it made the character look really unique. I don't know. He was like one of my favorite characters for that reason. Yeah, does anyone like even? Yeah, these days like the protagonists feel kind of forgettable, don't they? Like I think it's like the modern art style, but yeah, it really feels like 7, 8, and 9 were kind of the same character, doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe they're just blending together. Yeah, I've never replayed those gens like I have like earlier gens. So like Gen 2, I've done a couple of times. Gen 1, I've done over and over again. Uh, 4, I've done twice. Yeah, anything more recent than that, it's It's weird that like 4 feels like the last like childhood Pokemon game, and then like Black and White came out. Man, I remember going to pick that up and just feeling like so excited that I could just like go out and do it with no issues. Because like I remember back in the day, like these games would come out and I wouldn't be able to find the money for it, or like I wouldn't have anyone to take me. And then like by Gen 5, I was like I was able to do it somehow. Yeah, I remember when I got Soul Silver. I went in there, I got Soul Silver, Rogue Squadron 2, and like what was the other one? Was it Zack and Wiki? Yeah, like just 3 like crazy fucking games that I've been wanting for a long time. Like, man, yeah, that period in GameStop when you're like from like 2008 to like 2014 was like fucking insane. When you would go in there and like you could find like like Wii games for like $10. You'd get like Wario Land Shake It and Little King Story on a whim, and you would just be blown away by the bullshit. Like it's just fucking amazing. Yeah, they need to. Yeah, yeah, you really need to be doing more. I'm not invisible. Oh, I have a disappointment.
What the fuck?
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will no doubt be remembered as one of the most cursed and peculiar releases in recent history for Nintendo. From its premature unveiling in 2017 to the news that development was starting over in 2019 so that it could be handed off to Retro Studios, making
Yeah, how is the sound on that?
many at the time question why the project simply wasn't given to them in the first place, to the loudly negative online response to previews of
Yeah, so I think it's playing on desktop and also like picking up on the microphone. I don't understand like I guess I could just turn it down.
the game only a
How does that sound?
couple of weeks before it was set to launch. It just all it's like the cards were stacked against Prime.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work. No, it's fine. I think. So like I don't understand it. When did this microphone get so fucking sensitive? Like I did not have this problem before, but okay. I mean, this isn't how it should fucking work, but okay.
For at every turn. And when it finally dropped in December of last year as a dual release for the Switch and Switch 2, opinions were mixed, to put it lightly. Critics
You were either a fan and loved it, or you were like a Halo fanboy and hated it.
generally thought that Beyond was a time, albeit slightly rough in some places. While reactions from fans ranged from "this game is amazing" and "Metroid Prime is back" to "Metroid Prime 4 took my dog out back and shot it in the face." I picked the game up on launch day, and to say that I was excited would be an understatement of the decade. the same time, everything that I just talked about had also prepared me to go in with reasonable expectations. I did not think that Metroid Prime 4 was going to be a masterpiece when I booted it up. Considering that it was announced when I was still in high school, and that I finished college and moved out of my home state and have started a career in the span of time since that announcement, it would have been
not a big deal at all, you fucking retard. Like, this is a normal video game dev cycle now. Like, come on.
Goal of Prime 4 had turned out as good as, say, Metroid Dread, which...
So if you were in high school when this announced, like, you didn't grow up with the original trilogy, why exactly were you so eagerly anticipating the release of Prime 4?
Itself still feels like a miracle, to be fair. To this day, I still maintain that Metroid is my favorite series in gaming. And as long as this newest entry was at least on a similar level of quality as Corruption, which, if you recall from the last time I talked about the Prime games, was my least favorite of the original trilogy, I would have been content. I honestly, genuinely don't think that I was setting myself up for disappointment here. I knew heading in that I probably wasn't going to love Prime 4, and I had made peace with that. Yet the more I played, the more that cautious optimism began to wane. What? Because it was looking more and more like my impression of the game was going to be more extreme than me simply loving it. Fear, unfortunately, was never quelled. As I watched the credits that closed out my first playthrough, I felt different at best, and at worst, baffled by what I had just played. Before going any further, I want to clarify that I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is a bad game outright, and it's certainly not on the same level as something like Other M or Prime Hunters, multiplayer of the latter aside. It is a game that has a big amount of bad stuff in it. Some of it I've sort of come to excuse, or at least empathize with, especially after all of the interviews that came out that shed a light on the hellish development, explaining why certain decisions were made and ultimately kept. Some other aspects about this game are just... talk about them in due time now, won't we? As others have already put it, in many ways, Prime 4 feels like a game lost to time, like it's been displaced from time. Largely owed to its overly simplistic area design that really sticks out in the second half. Its strained insistence on bringing back mechanics from Corruption that really only made sense on the platform that that game was designed for, and a frankly lousy attempt at integrating an open-world zone into a Metroid game. But in the mix of all these questionable elements are some of the best Metroid sequences and music and visuals in the series. It's a very weird game that went beyond my expectations, kind of, just in the opposite direction I would have wanted it to. This is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. As I pointed out, Prime 4 was first announced in 2017 during that year's E3 Direct, with nothing more than a logo. It and the reveal of Samus Returns, Nintendo's 3DS remake of Metroid 2, signified a glorious return for the franchise in the eyes of many fans. The last bit of Metroid content we had received was 2016's co-op-focused spin-off, Metroid Prime Federation Force, which came 6 years after the game that I'm still waiting on Adam's authorization to make a video about. Metroid Prime 4 ended up spending quite a bit of time in the oven, so long in fact that Retro was able to develop versions for both the Nintendo Switch and its successor with this eyesore of a box art, and the Switch 2 edition is the one I'll be focusing on. Since the cartridge is backwards compatible, I have been able to test the game on the original Switch, and it seems like a perfectly suitable way to play the game. The biggest problem is that you'll still be playing Metroid Prime 4. The Switch 2 version benefits from a high frame rate mode and allows the game to be played at 120 FPS, which is still surreal to me, seeing this sort of thing on official Nintendo hardware. And there's also a high-resolution mode that, aside from the fantastic Mr. Star Fox, transforms Prime 4 into the best-looking Nintendo game I've laid my eyes upon. If we're strictly talking technical fidelity and the number of pixels being rendered, no matter what I say in this video, you will never catch me speaking about the way this game looks. Remastered in hindsight was essentially a tech demo for the graphics engine that Retro Studios would eventually use to power the game's visuals. It looks razor sharp on a 4K display, and the lighting especially really makes the environments pop and come to life in a way that had me stopping to gaze at the art and craftsmanship at several points in my adventure. And ignoring the actual of the suit for now, the new Viola suit that Samus has on for most of the game is one of her best looks yet. Red and black armor combined with the purple highlights, So good. Kind of a shame the game is as beautiful as it is, considering I'll likely never play it again after today, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The impressiveness of the graphics tech is all thanks to, again, the fact that the game took so long to get made that going apart for the next, much more powerful system was justified and pretty much expected after a certain point. So the way the story goes is that Metroid Prime 4 originally was placed in the care of Bandai Namco under the supervision of Prime series veteran Metro Studios was unavailable in 2017 as their hands were tied with another project that I wish I could tell you more about, but all I know about it is that it existed. That's about it. Years passed with no news being shared until February 2019 when Nintendo's own Shinya Takahashi, in a video uploaded to their official YouTube channel, announced that work on Prime 4 was being reset. Reason? The current version sucked shit, so Bandai Namco was out. Studios was in. In all seriousness, in Takahashi's words, development progress wasn't reaching the standards Nintendo was looking for in a Metroid Prime sequel, and they saw no other option besides essentially starting from square one with another team. This was an incredibly tough pill to swallow as a fan, but a part of me respected the transparency too. And hey, if this meant that the masterminds behind the original trilogy were now at the helm of the new game, maybe waiting a little longer would end up being a blessing in disguise, like the Rapture. Years passed without a peep at Metroid Prime 4, apart from, an updated banner on Retro's Twitter account and job postings on their website. Now, during this time, Metroid itself wasn't in a dour state or anything. In fact, the Metroid brand was arguably stronger than it had been in years, thanks to the surprise that was 2021's Metroid Dread. And in 2023, a little over 4 years after the Prime 4 delay announcement, the aforementioned remaster of the first Metroid Prime was revealed and shadow dropped digitally on that same day. Master definitely felt like Retro's way of testing the waters before the inevitable launch of the fourth game. Working on the remaster was very likely also a means for them to study and gather data on what made the original titles so captivating. As having Retro back in the driver's seat in lieu of another studio didn't really mean ultimately. Since a sizable portion of the staff who worked on the first 3 games were gone by this point, as would later be made public. Studios wasn't equipped to tackle a project of this caliber when Nintendo plopped it on their lap. A project that had already begun to take shape under a completely different creative team, which only complicated things even more. It wasn't clear to me at the time, especially because Dread and Remaster did a lot to reinvigorate my faith in the franchise. Looking back, Game 4 was in a worse state than I possibly could have imagined. It took me very long to notice the warning signs. When gameplay was finally shown in June of 2024, I was ecstatic. That excitement stayed with me for every trailer that followed for the next year and a half or so, even though I was aware of the concerns that began to just not doing enough to grab the attention of some folks. I was just happy that we finally leaked some tangible details and news after being kept in the dark for so many years. This game for things like hurdles turn out good. Groundbreaking, just controversial, please, because at that point in the Switch 2 era, I was frankly sick of the trend that several people were participating in, twisting valid criticism against Nintendo into attacking points for clicks. But then in November 2025, previews began rolling out from various sources expressing some alarming concerns about a feature that, until now, had been kept out of Prime 4's marketing. The Galactic Federation NPCs were seemingly...
Okay. So this guy is a pleb who doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. So, this is something we knew about since Federation Force. And I always call these people out whenever they try and pull this nonsense, that, we had no idea the Federation was going to be a part of this. Nobody asked for this. This isn't something that makes any sense for the IP. They were setting this up since Federation Force. And honestly, considering, Other M having the Federation, Prime 3 having the Federation, Prime 2 having the Federation, it's been something they've been setting up for a long fucking time. I don't understand why so many people are so, antagonistic to the idea. It doesn't make any sense. The Federation is actually one of my favorite things about Prime.
Suddenly, Metroid Prime 4 had fallen victim
Yeah. So they don't talk a lot. That's not a thing. It's just a
to dreaded internet discourse. The Viola motorcycle and Soul Valley reveals already weren't doing the game any favors because open world fatigue was and is a real thing that players have been experiencing, and there were plenty of ways that it could backfire in a Metroid game. The Chungus sidekick was what sealed the game's fate. It was the final nail in the coffin. Flashbacks to other reports of invasive partner characters giving unsolicited advice in a game franchise that many got lost in.
you don't interact with the troopers and other M at all. It's just goofy.
It's been time for potentially exploration. It wasn't enough for me to write it off completely like so many others already had. I worried? Of course, a part of me certainly was. I wanted to judge the game for myself and base how I felt about it solely on the words of others who only played a small portion of it. After all, Prime 3 had a pretty intrusive hint system itself, with the Aurora units always chiming in, and again, the game when all was said and done. So when December 4th came around and I picked it up from Best Buy and got home and put the cartridge into my Switch 2, I still had a glimmer of hope that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond was gonna be a good time. And you know what? First impressions had me thinking that maybe that hope wasn't entirely misplaced. Almost like this is a Metroid game or something. After a brief bit of exposition, the game begins with Samus responding to a Galactic Federation distress signal. Her to the planet Tanamar, where the Federation is being attacked by space pirates who are after a mysterious artifact being held in the UTO Research Center. Are immediately thrown into the explosive conflict. Very similar to PvP's opening act in that way, but even that game forced you to walk around the GFS Olympus before the action began. With a short, sweet, in-your-face piece that immediately gets the going right into it. I particularly liked this moment where or transition to that room that they're trying to get into. It's rushed in shortly after. Cool. Was floored by the visuals in this opening mission. I really don't want to harp on that too much anymore, but I can't deny that every now and then, good graphics can be a big contributing factor in my enjoyment of certain games, especially in a very flashy, action-packed segment. Just like in Prime 3, your run through the Federation base is capped off with a boss battle against a giant enemy with glowing weak points that require the use of the Wiimote's free aim. Sorry, I mean the Switch controller's gyroscope. So this pops up surprisingly frequently throughout this game. There's remnants of these motion and pointer controls that definitely lend credence to the sentiment that Beyond feels like this long-lost sequel to Corruption that's begun its life on the Wii. It's not just because of the motion controls, though they do play a big part. Game 4 just inherently feels like an old world game at its core. It's not really in a refreshing, discerning way, like how, to give a recent example, people were saying that Pragmata reminded them of games from the Xbox 360 era.
Come on!
Force case.
Okay. Metroid Prime 4 is like 10 times the game of fucking Pragmata, okay? Like, anybody who says Pragmata is better than Prime 4 is just completely delusional. Like, that is just completely wrong.
This of the game doesn't feel very much like it was born out of intentionality, and instead comes across as a product of a lack of a vision and drive to push the Prime series forward. Prime 3 was already pretty goddamn linear compared to the other two games, but that sort of became an acceptance.
Compared to Prime 2, like, are you fucking kidding me? Prime 2 locks you to, like, one area at a time, okay? Like, I much preferred Prime 3's structure than Prime 2's. So, like, I don't know. Like, the idea that these games are, like, not linear is just, like Prime 1 is a really good example. Like, Prime 1, it's very straightforward, right? Like, yeah, you have to backtrack through areas sometimes, but, like, that doesn't make it non-linear. You know, it doesn't make it an open world game. You know what I mean?
Expected side effect of games released on the Wii. Just look at Skyward Sword and Galaxy. as we'll see later, doubles down on that linearity. In a way that comes off as a tad uninspired, and as much as I try to avoid saying this, a little lazy. So it feels like it has the sucks that these types of games still work best on. Same issue I had with Skyward Sword HD, and the same issue I have with the Pikmin games and all these other less than ideal attempts at emulating style controls on the Switch. What controller you use, a gyroscope simply IR sensor.
Okay. I actually just got done playing Splatoon with the Joy-Con controller. Okay, this is something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but like the gyro on the Joy-Cons for like Splatoon Raiders is like fucking amazing. And like I don't know if people are ever going to pick up on this, but like this idea that like Wii motion control, like Switch motion controls, are somehow inferior to Wii, it's just not really true. Like it really does just amount to like boomers not being able to get used to like the slightly different technology. But yeah.
Would have
Yeah, which it's a button
to
press.
play Prime 4 with the pointer fusion control scheme to replicate the way the games control in the Prime Trilogy collection, which, if you recall what I said in that video, was my preferred way to play the first 3 Prime games. It doesn't work as well as it appears on paper because the reticles seldom cooperate. It's a real shame because in those moments when it does work, this feels like the most natural way to experience the game to me. Doubly so during
I think I did a full playthrough of Prime Remastered using those controls. They're fine. Like he's just a boomer.
Using normal gyro in these sequences feels like I'm in a constant battle with the player. There's also the mouse controls, but
So like we're legit still seeing people complain about motion controls in 2020. Like at what point are we just gonna tell these people to fuck off? Okay, like if you can't get the controls to work, that's on you. Like I don't understand why we have to do this thing where like, yes, it's the controls are the problem. No, bitch, you just suck.
Because I can't buy into the whole the Joy-Con is a mouse gimmick with this unergonomic form factor where I'm still being forced to use the face buttons. I realized that I neglected to mention that you can still activate free aim with just the right stick. And the reason I didn't mention it is because it feels awful. It's really stiff and it's impractical in those situations where you would want to use free aim. Figured I'd still bring it up so that people don't yell at me in the comments. No doubt I'll be getting regardless. Anyways, back to your regularly scheduled YouTube video. Not even through the prologue and I'm already bitching. It's where I like this first mission, guys, which ends with Samus finally arriving where the artifact is being safeguarded just in time for Sylix to make his grand entrance. Hunters, his return was first teased all the way back in his bonus ending. It's like he's in command of the Space Pirates now, and some Metroids? Actually, you'll learn that they're all under some type of net.
Yeah, even some Metroids. Wow. So like, way to demonstrate that you did not play Metroid Prime Federation Force, you poser. Like again, like there's just so many signs that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, oh, Sylix has a Metroid for some reason. Like the Federation troopers are here for some reason. Like, yeah, play Federation Force. By the way, Federation Force is actually quite a bit better than Prime 4, but
used with the Metroids. Metroid Fusion. Pretty neat concept. Can't wait for the story to eventually go into more detail about this interesting new bit of lore and the surely complex motivations explaining Sylix's beef with Samus. The artifact gets knocked over in the scuffle and opens a rift that swallows the entire base and everyone in it. This causes Samus to lose consciousness, and she wakes up to find she's on an entirely different planet. In a place known as Chrono Tower, full of some interesting textural flourishes. After getting transported to a spiritual plane where she's bestowed a psychic crystal by a bunch of aliens that refer to her as the Chosen. She reaches the top of the tower where she finds a recording that was left behind by one of them. So this dude is a member of a species known as the more accurate, since the rest of his brethren are the Chosen One to be Samus live on planet Earth's legacy after their extinction. Samus learns that she must gather the 5 Master Teleporter keys to activate the Master Teleporter. This mission. The Master Teleporter is also the only way she can get off this rock, so might as well go along with it. Lauren are essentially this game's version of the Tuzo or the Luminon, a super intelligent race of aliens who evidently wants to make up to cyberspace. It's the closest that gets to having a plot that I actually give a crap about. But even saying that is being pretty generous. They're nowhere near as interesting as either of the two previously mentioned alien races in the Prime series. Because time is spent in this game to make me feel all that you are a bunch of fucking idiots. As I went through the game and unraveled the events that led to their downfall, I came away from it thinking these guys themselves over. Spending their natural resources during the machine era, forcing them to turn to an alternative source of energy, called green energy. Jesus Christ, the names of some of the key items and locations in this game absolutely sends me. Then it turned out that that very same green energy caused the Lemorn that had psychic crystals implanted in their foreheads to mutate into ravenous beasts that also killed most of the remaining Lemorn. Yeah, deserves I can't say I didn't feel any sympathy for them in spite of how amusingly and unlucky I found the circumstances that led to their extinction to be. This belt is one of my favorite levels in Prime 4, in large part because of the scan logs you can find there containing records of the Lemorn's attempts at undoing their catastrophic oopsie, basically using themselves as test subjects in their experiments to reverse the mutation. If you get to watch one of these experiments of this that fulfill their race. Another problem I ended up having with the Lemorn story was the brightness of it all. Not only because of the similarities between two series, but also because of how redundant it begins to feel, even when looking as its own self-contained story. Entries just get to be, for a while, revealing very little in the way of information, repeating the same things over and over. I don't usually put too much stock into the narratives of these games. It can be a great bonus, but those who have been following me all this time would know that I primarily play Metroid for its gameplay and exploration. Even those qualities that I only count on for a good time leave me dissatisfied. It's when I unconsciously shift my attention to parts of the package to try to find something or other to latch onto. The story involving the Lemorn, like so many other aspects about this game, doesn't do it for me, becoming just another one of the many mediocre elements of Prime 4 that left me unfulfilled and frustrated in the end. This game has a tendency of introducing somewhat intriguing concepts that never quite reach their full potential. A perfect example of this unrealized ambition comes from the main levels you explore. Starting as early as the very first biome you're taken to after Chrono Tower, Fairy Green. First impressions of this area? Serene jungle environment beautiful. You can overnight as you explore, giving the area this otherworldly, spiritual vibe. Fairy Green is scream. There's a reason it was used to close out the first gameplay trailer we got for Prime 4. It's a level carried by nostalgia, intended to elicit the emotions we felt in Talon Overworld and stepping inside of the Chozo Ruins for the first time. Like the parallels, especially with Chozo Ruins, can be found all over the place here. The massive secret tree even reminds me of the big tree in the middle of the Arboretum room in Prime 1. You know, the one you have to climb to reach the Sun Chamber where Flagra is. Speaking of Flagra, at the end of Fury Green, Carvix is essentially the Flagra fight again, right down to its tentacles being counted as a...
It is nothing like fucking Flagra. Like, they're not the same thing. They have nothing in common outside of being plants.
separate enemy log. It can come off as a little shameless when you notice how familiar it all feels. I give it a pass since it's the first region in the game and because of the time gap between this and Game 3. One thing Fury Green and Chozo Ruins don't have in common, however, is the complexity and scale of their layouts. When I made it through the whole area and defeated the boss, it dawned on me that my expectation up to that point had just been in a straight line with little to no deviation from the main path. There were hardly even any chances to stray from that path if I wanted to. If you look at these two maps side by side, it's night and day. I didn't even need to do that to know that Fury Green felt downright rudimentary compared to the opening levels of the previous titles. And to my shock, as I made it further into the game and revisited Fury Green with more updates and such, I realized that I'd pretty much seen all there was to see in that initial run. The level didn't expand after I returned with more items. This was it. Was the entire level. Linear corridor with now, it may be easy to forget that the other Prime Games' maps were also made up of a lot of linear corridors, and that the exploration that was possible within them was whether or not you noticed the opening to a branching path, like a door tucked away in some corner somewhere or a hidden Morphball tunnel. I've seen some people use this to try to prove that Prime 4's areas aren't constructed any differently, since ultimately just walking from one fancy hallway to the next, and that's something I simply can't get behind. Focusing again on Chozo Ruins, nowadays I know exactly where to go to clear it as fast as possible. If I wanted to, I could reduce the entire experience to me just walking in a straight line, but that would mean ignoring all of the opportunities for divergence that are baked into the level. Take the small alcove in the room after the Hive Totem that you can return to after getting the Morph, which takes you to the Magmor Caverns elevator. From here, you can go down this path to reach the vault, with more Chozo lore to scan and a missile expansion that requires releasing these 3 locks with bombs to access. And going past the vault, you eventually end up here, at the edge of this elevated opening that you may have noticed when you first entered the plaza because of the glowing, out-of-reach energy tank that you couldn't reach then. This is just an example. The to the first Charge Beam is completely skippable in the first visit, until the second visit's offender on the drifts, and that's only because it's necessary to use super missiles. And when you're forced to return to Chozo Ruins later in the game, suddenly an entirely new section of the city is open to you now that you have more tools under your belt. As areas slowly open up, you instinctively begin piecing together how the new rooms connect with the old ones you've already been in, and it makes the illusion of these enormous spaces feel more real. Far is large, devoid of this crucial interconnectivity and sense of progression. I know I said I was mostly using Prime 3 as a point of reference in my first playthrough, and I just spent the last paragraph blazing an area from Prime 1, but I think that even Prime 3's levels have more interesting detours built into their layouts than any level in Prime 4 does. If this issue was confined to Fury Green, I'd let it slide. The entire game is plagued by this permeating restrictiveness. I've been a pretty staunch defender of linear games in the past. While Prime 4 can and does leverage its linearity to offer some creative puzzles and some combat encounters here and there, it doesn't play to the strengths of its linear formats nearly as much as it should. On the right side, the area that follows Fury Green is Vault 4. It's one of the highlights of the campaign. The issue I have with it is how you go about solving 3 towers. You enter a room, maybe fight some enemies, or activate a contraption to make it to the next elevator, ride the elevator down, then save repeats. So on the way back up too. I definitely wasn't the most legally straightforward level design here. We have an area that's looking. The Yola manufacturing plant, where violent thunderstorms are constant and are actually integral in providing power to the facility to keep everything operational. Gameplay wise, all we do here is zigzag up and down the first towers and do some AR training with the bike in the last one. That sounds pretty lame. Not to mention tedious as hell when you're forced to come back to Vault Forge twice for story purposes, since there's only one route you can take for each tower. Can't help but kinda love it in spite of all that. During that first visit where you need to bring each tower back online, seeing all the machinery and technology come to life, and how that actually had an effect on how I needed to climb back up each tower was legitimately fun. There were some pretty clever gameplay moments during all of this, like when you need to go into Morph mode to follow the assembly line into thinking that Samus is a tire. So even though you're treading old ground, you're at least doing something slightly different. The second tower isn't as good as it mostly consists of a myriad of combat rooms with these irritatingly durable security robots, but this is also where you fight Silex for the first time. With your second encounter with him later, you're the best fights in the game, bar none. He's aggressive, and it's satisfying reacting to his attacks using Samus's improved strafing mobility. The second encounter has the floor is lava curveball that forces you to swing across.
Okay. There are quite a few good boss fights in that game. I don't know if I would say that like Prime 4 has better boss fights than like the rest of the games. I think Prime 2 actually has amazing boss fights, like super underrated. So I'm gonna have to like play Prime 2 again. I would say, like in general, it's quite a bit better than Prime 1 or 3 though. Like in general. So like I mean I look watching this, I feel like he's really understanding like all the things that Prime 4 does better than the original trilogy. You know, combat stuff, boss fights, um, things of that nature. You know, like I feel like when it comes to this idea that like it's kind of like Grand Blue. You know what I mean? Like because I was talking about this when it came to game. Grand Blue is like a weirdly linear RPG where like you're just kind of like being railroaded, but like that helps like the visual quality and make like the encounters feel more epic. Honestly, I think the direction for Prime 4 actually gives it its own unique personality and like kind of distinguishes it from other Prime games. Like I've said this before, but like it really does feel like a sequel to Prime 2 primarily. Like the main difference is that like the Federation troopers that don't die right at the beginning. So like I feel like all this talk about like well like Prime 1 did it differently. Like yeah, you know what Fusion did? Like that was different than Super Metroid. Like to me, I think in a lot of ways, like Prime 4 feels like the Prime equivalent of Fusion, where like people just can't accept some of like like it's interesting because like a lot of people really hated like how linear and how story focused Fusion was when it first came out, and now it's a classic. Prime 4 I don't think is going to be as popular because I don't think it really needs to be, but like it's going in the same direction. Like we saw the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom, right? Where like people spurred out about it for like a couple of years, and then eventually it started blowing up and becoming popular. Like
For a dull moment in these fights, and Stylix's theme is the icing on the cake. Oh yeah, and the music in Vault Forge itself, it slaps too. You don't get to hear the full song until you've cleared Tower 1 and obtained the Viola suit, which allows Samus to operate the motorcycle. And as you rev it up to drive to the next tower, the main music track decides to kick in. And listening to it for the first time as I rain on tracks lit up the deep clouds. It's
yeah, I was legit sick.
Vault Forge was the level I was most looking forward to after seeing snippets of it in the marketing, and while I could have benefited from a more interesting structure, I left with a positive opinion of it overall. Ice Belt, on the other hand, is an area that I needed time to warm up to, cool down to. A stupid fucking joke. Wolfpack in the snowfield is an endurance test, and that lasts way too long. 4 minutes by my count. It was actually the cause of my only game over in my recorded playthrough. You go down like flies with a fire shot, but once you run out of ammo, you're put in a real bad spot. I recommend saving your ammo for that last minute or so where there are multiple wolves lunging at you at the same time. About 95% of this level is set inside of the research facility where the Lemorn were trying to develop a cure for Grieveritis. At one point on your way to the generator, you'll need to step outside, and initially this was my favorite part from this area. Looking across these giant chains, resisting the chilling blizzard that's trying to push you off and also causes Samus's arm cannon to freeze over. I love the detail of it slowly defrosting when you go back inside. The rest of the area, however, wasn't my cup of tea. Going on an extremely railroaded scavenger hunt through empty, sterile corridors for these TK codes that aren't even super difficult to find once you realize that the controller vibrates when you're near one of them, so they can be used for yet another unexciting puzzle with the Psychic Visor where you draw a pattern to release a lock. Give them this, it's better than moving a crystal to open a door. Even though I don't think the experience of playing the Ice Belt is all that enthralling, can at least sort of respect its commitment to its straightforwardness for the sake of storytelling. The best part about the story here is that it isn't strictly relegated to scan logs. It's also thoughtfully conveyed via the environment. The scan logs are a bonus, offering deeper insight into the Lemorn's desperation. You'll also come across rooms with autopsy machines and other surgical equipment, cryopods containing Griever corpses. Ring hunch that perhaps the lab isn't as lifeless as it appears. Builds and builds the further in you go. reaching its boiling point once you activate the generator that wakes up not just the entire facility, but the music too. And of course, those grievers that weren't actually dead. They were just patiently waiting to be thawed out. Ice Belt is a close second for me in the conversation of best areas in Prime 4. It helps that the atmosphere in both it and Vault Forge give off strong alien vibes. Yes, Ice Belt is basically the only instance I feel justifies making you backtrack to a previous area. Just the second has quite a bit of stuff to see, so sorely lack. It's also where you get the spider, one of the only returning power-ups that feels meaningfully enhanced by Samus's new psychic powers. It allows you to latch onto these tether nodes that can act like a slingshot. Pulling in one direction creates tension that flings you in the opposite direction once released. It's pretty sick. It's where you also meet Boo, the Galactic Federation android who helps you out by punching the shit out of enemies and blockades in the environment that can't be destroyed by Samus's firepower. Yet, though he doesn't always miss it the first time when I order him to break a wall. I mentioned earlier, this was the thing that caused a lot of people to raise an eyebrow when the previews dropped. The inclusion of these Federation soldiers that would tag along with Samus at certain points. This wasn't entirely out of left field. Game 3 had its own cohort of side characters that helped you throughout your journey, and that game was pretty heavy on spoken dialogue all around. Fusion had those mandatory check-ins with Adam, and of course, it was Other M. We hoped that the problems were simply blowing the whole situation out of proportion. Kinda were. As individuals, I wouldn't go as far as saying that I like these guys. Again, Ryu is probably the best of the bunch. His monotone voice has a lot to do with that, I think. Takabe, who you made a Ice Belt, is pretty okay too. He's the wolf of the group, and undoubtedly gets the biggest spotlight if you seek him out in the desert during the endgame. He takes these moments sitting by a campfire to reflect on his past. You learn about his spirituality and how he honed his survival instincts and rifle skills out of necessity from growing up on a planet with scarce resources. His conversations with Samus have been called conversations since Samus herself doesn't talk. Super deep in being When you get to Flarepool, you're introduced to Ezra Duke and Nora Armstrong. He's your stereotypical gruff army brat who's not as bad as he seems on the outside. Really didn't care for him, or how long it would take to catch up to help me open these two-person operated doors. He's just sorta... Strong is definitely a more fun addition to the team, and I even found her moments of fangirling over Samus, a fellow woman who happens to be one of the most accomplished and badass warriors in the galaxy, legitimately endearing. But she exhibits the exact same problem that her fellow Marines do. Their incessant need to comment on every little thing you do, every object of interest you come across, and every objective. You're not allowed to simply absorb your surroundings and figure out the way forward on your own without their gratuitous hints. I feel like I have a higher than average tolerance for this sort of thing, but even I thought that it was too much. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but even Adam in Other M wasn't like constantly talking your ear off during normal gameplay. Flarepool is where it gets really egregious, since you have two of these blabbering doofuses physically with you for a decent chunk of the level. Way, been more railroaded than Ice Belt, Forge, and Full to accommodate Duke and Armstrong's presence, honestly. The music also isn't anything to write home about. The first real snoozer of the game's soundtrack, if you ask me, besides what you hear in the wasteland of nothingness between each major area. Don't worry, we'll get to it later. There was also where the lack of enemy variety really began to fully impact my enjoyment of the game's combat. I started noticing a pattern. If in one level I was fighting Grievers, I was likely going to be fighting these Cybots in the level after it, and I'd be back to shooting Grievers in the level after that. Other enemy factions, yeah, but these are the two types that the game loves to spam. And aside from some minor differences here and there between certain Cybot models, like the ones with shields that you need to yank off with a grapple lasso, once again, welcome back Prime 3. The ones that warp around the room, I hardly ever felt inclined to substantially shake up my strategy for dealing with them. And once I got the ice shot, barring a couple of encounters where I was up against multiple aggressive enemies at once, the tried and true freeze to missile combo made the game's challenge tumble over like a stack of dominoes. And in time, the Thunder Shot allowed me to easily dispatch those bigger hordes too. Before you unlock the other beam types, Prime 4's go-to way of providing a challenge involves making the Grievers, and especially those goddamn security robots, absolute tanks, requiring many power beam shots and missiles to defeat. Just like in Prime 3, Samus's missiles are borderline impractical and straight up don't feel good to use because of how slow their fire rate is and that slight but noticeable initial delay when you launch one. Sometimes shooting an enemy with a missile will knock it away from you, so just as you're blasting them. Saying that aloud, it sounds like a really adds to the gunplay. It's the most annoying part about using the ice beam and missile combo this time. Speaking of, here's something new. Different elemental shots can be used in conjunction with Samus's regular power beam. Because of this, you can't use something like the ice shot and the missiles at the same time, since the other shot types effectively replace your missiles when they're equipped. So to use a missile on an enemy after freezing it, you need to manually swap back to your missile ammo with the D-pad, and then switch again to the ice shot. Yet another tiny inconvenience that adds up over the course of the game. I mentioned this earlier, but yes, Samus's elemental beams have limited ammo. It's nowhere near as much of an active mechanic as it was in Prime 2. You find plenty of shot expansions, and it doesn't matter if you're using the Fire Shot or the Thunder Shot, since they all share the same universal ammo type. Besides the Ice Belt Wolf battle, I never ran out of ammo in one of my playthroughs. Before anyone tells me to play hard mode if I think the new beams make the combat too much of a cakewalk, I've tried it, and respectfully, no fucking thanks. A version of the game that makes the Cybots even spongier? It's editing. I learned that some common enemies in this game actually have weak points. For most Cybots, it's their heads. I tested it for myself, and sure enough, it seems to be true. However, that doesn't mean I'm going to walk back on my complaints about the enemies being too resistant to your weapons. Problem is that these weaknesses aren't properly confirmed, not even after analyzing a creature with a scan visor. So I don't think it's fair to expect returning Prime players to intuit that they have bodily weak points at all, when most of the normal enemies in the other Prime games didn't. This also just makes me wish even more that we had reliable gyro aiming to make precision shooting more manageable. Where are the damn space pirates? They're in the intro when they're raiding the research center. They piss off after the artifact warps everyone of Earrings. Guess they're just taking after their leader, I suppose. Did I forget to say that this far? Silex encounter? Actually invented the real Silex at home. The two confrontations with him in Fort, or the battle in Flarepool against the hovercraft that he was supposedly piloting. And the crew don't see him face to face until don't fight any Metroids in this game. The space pirates in the opening that were fused with Metroids are all bosses who have undergone this Metroid fusion as well. Silex managed to gain control over the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. You know, the species that the Federation ordered the genocide of because of how much of a threat they posed. I asked myself this question as I was playing, and my answer until I did my own research. Found out that the explanation is in Federation Force's secret ending, which I never saw because there's no way in hell I'm playing that entire game by myself, and was expanded upon in the Metroid Prime 4 World Databook. Now I know that Silex apparently kidnapped some Metroid hatchlings from a GF research station before the events of Prime 4. That certainly would have been a neat detail to throw to this narrative for people like me who were a little confused without it. Additional details pertaining to this Edgelord's backstory would have been welcome, frankly. Nope. We get our some brief flashback snippets peppered throughout the game, culminate in the reveal that Silex really is nothing more than a petty little shit who missed his shot at glory one time and has had a grudge against Samus ever since. I don't even really disapprove of this being his plan. Why did it have to be so secretive? It isn't any more complex than what we were able to gather from his appearance in Hunters. Ever since Prime 3's post-credit scene, it felt as if they were building towards a more fleshed-out role for Silex. And to see that still has really come out of that, really underwhelming. I feel like I've been all over the place for the last few minutes or so just dogging on this game, probably because from Flarepool onward, there really isn't anything left in Prime 4 for me to speak. It's astounding how sharp of a nosedive the game's quality takes after you leave the ice.
Yeah, so I do agree that like the Great Mind sucks, but like that's like what, like one area that's ends eventually, and then you move on to like the end game. So like the end game, the final boss is really really good. To me, I feel like all this bitching about like the end game is just, it's the kind of thing that will only affect someone on like a first playthrough because it's just something that like people get blindsided by, I feel.
For a decent portion of my second playthrough, I was honestly like, maybe this video isn't going to be as negative as I thought. It really tricked me into my initial impressions. Perhaps I had treated beyond harshly. Turns out I was pretty with my first assessment, except now I can more confidently state that the good parts of Prime 4 are super friendly. Gets crushed by the overpowering mediocrity and straight up dodge that is the game's second half. It's here where the game's uncomplicated pathfinding, well-run story, and monotonous combat become impossible to ignore for me. It also happens to be where the remaining GF trooper I have yet to go over, Miles Mackenzie, is at his worst. This character was the signature culprit behind the internet's collective disdain over the mere idea of NPC companions being improved due to his dialogue. It doesn't help that Mackenzie is the first companion that the game pairs you with. A mechanic that doesn't have much in the way of experience on the battlefield or in knowing when to shut the hell up. It suggests that you rest at the save station and gives hints on what to do, but, they all do this. All of your other Federation partners, I mean. This isn't a problem exclusive to Mackenzie. His personality is more eccentric than we're typically used to in Metroid, maybe, but not to an unbearable extent, I'd say. At times, I was actually more peeved by the way Samus responded to him, or rather her insistence on not responding to Mackenzie like a normal freaking human would, but I'll delve into that more later.
Oh, he's gonna bitch about the silent protagonist thing?
Mackenzie goes from being mostly inoffensive to downright insufferable. I want to chuck this motherfucker through a wall. Insufferable. For starters, when you enter the desert with the Viola for the first time, he strongly implies that you can collect the remaining teleporter keys in any order you want. Do what I and many others I imagine did, and believe Mackenzie's advice and try to go somewhere you're not supposed to be yet. He will eventually call you again to say, actually, you should probably check out Flarepool first. Whatever gave you the idea that you could go wherever you want. And what's funny is that the place I hit at that Heisfeld was actually...
It's not making it obvious where you're supposed to go first. Like, I don't understand why people don't
the major area. I was just missing a mandatory upgrade, fire chip. But taking that detour to Flarepool for the fire chip still isn't enough, because then you need to take it back to Fury Green, where Samus and Mackenzie had established a base camp earlier, so that he can program it into Samus's arm cannon, granting her the fire shot. You need to do this every time you acquire a new elemental.
Not a big deal, not a big deal.
Unlocking a new beam type, it's an unnecessary added step for the sake of cutting the runtime and giving Mackenzie more to do, I suppose. So you're going to be revisiting Fury Green a lot, which means you'll be driving through the desert a lot. It means you'll be forced to listen to Mackenzie's overbearing chatter. The game apparently hates it when you do anything that isn't in service of moving the main quest forward, because this asshole is programmed to keep pestering you about your next objective if you ignore it for even a second. Even when you are actively advancing the main mission, like during the required endgame MacGuffin hunt, Mackenzie will still chime in to say things like, "Hey, looks like there's a mech part nearby. Yeah, that's where I'm headed, you dingus. Remember to collect all the green energy crystals you can find," when I'm in the middle of collecting the fucking green energy crystals. I know that production was rough and the devs had a lot on their plates, but like, come on, did seriously nobody on the team take a step back and realize how aggravating this can get? Other M already showed that Metroid fans detest being ordered around. Now imagine that, but dialed up to 11, while you're mindlessly scouting the most barren, dull waste of space that this game tries to pass off as an explorable open zone. Right here, my biggest point of contention against Metroid Prime 4. Soul Valley is the most embarrassing excuse of an open world that Nintendo has tried shoving into one of their franchises ever since Breath of the Wild set the trend, while also being the ultimate embodiment of Prime 4's messy development. As the story goes, the decision to take a crack at the open world formula in a Metroid game was influenced by Zelda's success, and honestly, we didn't even need confirmation from an interview to know that this was the case, what with how many games in Nintendo's recent lineup have gone down a similar path. But as development trudged on and Retro was brought in to pick up the pieces left by the previous team, they noticed that players' perceptions of the open world subgenre had changed, likely due to the high volume of these types of games floating around. The team had also made the deliberate choice to rein in the openness of the desert, as they came to the conclusion that designing a true open world would conflict with Metroid's core appeal, gradually uncovering new areas through the acquisition of new power-ups and abilities. It was too late to turn back when these realizations were made. End result is the empty valley we're stuck with. Desert where there's next to nothing to do and essentially just functions as Prime 4's Temple Grounds to compare to something, only with any size. Temple Grounds was at least, an actual curated level with stuff to engage with that made it feel like more than a basic hub. Prime 2 also had the advantage of its regions still being interconnected, with the way that Planet Aether was designed like a ring, the Temple Grounds being smack dab in the middle. In Prime 4, you have no choice but to cross the desert to get anywhere. Each area only has one entryway too, with the exception of Fury Green, though the transport pod is the only one of the two that's worth taking, since it leaves you just 3 rooms away from base camp. It's not like the game gives non-completionists any other reason to explore the rest of the region. I remember the first time I got to explore the world in full with the bike. One of the first things I found was a missile expansion that was only obtainable by boosting off one of these ramps. I thought to myself, okay, if there are more expansions like this, then this might not be so bad. This turned out to be the coolest thing I did in the desert for the rest of my playthrough. I entered my first shrine, I thought, alright, maybe this is the main attraction of the open world. Self-contained mini-dungeons, probably filled with optional goodies, maybe a mini-boss, engaging puzzles. All I did was move 2 pillars. It's the entire shrine. None of these shrines, all 6 of them, whoop-de-doo, go any further than 1, maybe 2, brain-dead puzzles before calling it a day and giving you the beam upload at the end. And given the wild era Zelda games flag for being stuffed with devotion shrines, but even the most simplistic shrines and Tears of the Kingdom, you mess with Ultra Hand or Recall to find wacky ways to overcome them. I'm not a fan of how easily those abilities allow you to circumvent so much in that game, but Prime 4's rigid, single-solution shrine puzzles are laughable in comparison. It's nothing to them. And at least the Zelda team had the foresight to give Link all the abilities he'd possibly need before leaving the tutorial area. Prime 4, there was one time when I didn't realize that I needed the Thunder Shot until I was already inside of the shrine. Now, perhaps I should have picked up on this beforehand, since the crystal on the Lamorne statue above ground was yellow, indicating that the shrine held an upgrade for the Thunder Shot. But in that case, why not just put elemental locks on every shrine entrance? Why are they only on some of them? Why is there an ice lock blocking you from entering one of the fire shrines? You don't even need the ice beam to solve the puzzle in this one. It's so inconsistent. Remember when I started the video by saying that I don't think Prime 4 is that bad? Normally, I wouldn't waste my breath on things I'd usually deem to be inconsequential. This is what happens when a game doesn't give me enough substance to distract me from what should just be trivial shit. I fixate on it. It's like when I go to a steakhouse and my steak arrives and it's a little overcooked. Not enough to completely ruin the steak for me. I'm Mexican, I'm used to eating meat cooked, congratulations. But it's just disappointing enough that now I notice that my lemonade is a little watered down, that my chair is a little wobbly, that the fries are a little soggy, that the waiter kind of smells, that we waited 20 minutes before they brought us our damn bread rolls, so by the time I leave, I'm in a pretty sour mood. If Prime 4 didn't feel so bogged down by the combined weight of all of its little flaws, maybe the fact that they, I don't know, warped the scanning system wouldn't bother me as much as it currently does. It takes longer to fully scan objects now, and little to no attempt was made this time to distinguish between the scans that are critical for the logbook and the ones that aren't. Practically everything is highlighted green now, with a couple of exceptions where interactables are yellow. Sometimes. Technically, I can interact with this boost ball spinner, but it's green. Actually, the Federation soldiers are highlighted yellow too, so I don't fucking know. There were also plenty of times where I had logged a technology entry like the Viola, and the game still made it seem like I hadn't when I tried scanning it again later. The second scan gave a little more flavor text, but it didn't yield a new logbook record, nor did it update the original entry. This happens more times than you might expect. It's trying to scan every important enemy and object, more of an ordeal than
Yeah, we're
ever.
close to
My god,
hitting
and the
Arcanine level 100.
abundance of unnecessary environmental scans in this game is off the charts. And it isn't like the resulting analysis is interesting enough to warrant it. Why does every region have its own unique scans for doors and crates and boxes? They aren't even needed for the logbook, but why? They all look the fucking same. Simply trying to log on to what you want to scan can be a nightmare at times, too. Don't even get me started on the flying mechs in the desert. What am I doing wrong? Is it too far away? I almost got it there, but I lost it for whatever reason. Oh, you're just gonna piss off underground and make me wait until you decide to pop out again. That's fine. No biggie. Just pass the time by listening to some tunes. Wait. There are no fucking tunes in the desert, not unless I buy the $40 amiibo that unlocks a radio for my motorcycle. It is a great looking amiibo, but seriously? I've actually put on the game's soundtrack using the Nintendo Music app while driving through Soul Valley to prevent my brain from shutting down from a lack of stimulation. And you know what? This is way better. Too bad that app is also paywalled and still doesn't have any of the Xenoblade soundtracks to Reggie. Maybe these Galactic Federation debris sites around the desert that were also warped to Viros by the artifact. Remember the artifact? The one that kickstarted the story? One that's part of the logo? These sites usually house an optional expansion or two, none of which are worth going out of your way for until the very end when you need to visit each site anyway to collect the parts Mackenzie needs to rebuild the heavyweight golem mech that can break the barrier protecting Chrono Tower. The parts gets eaten by the one mandatory boss in Soul Valley, this giant sandworm. It's one of only 2 bosses that you fight on the Viola, the other being Fenaros, the only good thing apart from the escape sequence to come out of Flarepool. Interesting that both of these guys are defeated via similar means, destroying their insides, either with the old-fashioned firebomb or well-aimed control beam shot, as I like referring to it as the remote control battery. Side note, I somehow managed to trip this line of dialogue from Mackenzie after I had already killed the sandworm boss. Combat on the motorcycle doesn't really evolve beyond holding the fire button and releasing it once you've locked onto all of your targets. Its frisbee-shaped energy shot is the best way to deal with grievers and the like in the open world. There really isn't a reason to fight on foot in the desert if you want to keep things moving. However, when going up against these marauders that remind me of the spitting skellies from Dark Souls, you'll be fighting the camera more than the enemies themselves. In general, controlling the Viola can feel heavily restricted. You can't target enemies that are behind you, and part of the reason why the camera poses the biggest threat to you against mobile foes is because the default mapping for the fire button is set to E. I need to pull the grip on occasion to focus my shot. The only other games I do this with are Souls-likes. It's 2 references to Dark Souls back-to-back. This wouldn't have much of a practical use as there's very little in the desert that could take advantage of it. It would have been pretty neat if Samus was able to carry the Viola's momentum when jumping off of it, but no matter how fast you're driving, your velocity has no effect on how you dismount the bike. It's somewhat unexpected, given how much of an emphasis free-flowing movements has had in Nintendo's other recent open-world efforts. Like, imagine if the Speed Booster came back. That would have made crossing the desert infinitely more tolerable. Wait, that actually sounds kind of awesome. Why isn't the speed booster in this game? All of that being said, Soul Valley's biggest sin, and Gate 4's biggest sin for that matter, is how it is blatantly designed to waste your time. I already mentioned how there is no point in scouting the wreckage sites until you're explicitly asked to look for the mech parts. What I didn't mention is that Takabi is the one who gives you the teleporter chip, which is used to transport the cargo back to base camp. After your initial meetup with him in the desert, Takabi can be found at 3 other spots on the map, or a few optional heart-to-hearts and item expansions. The thing is that once you visited him at one location, he doesn't immediately relocate to the next one. No. You either have to save and reload your file, or enter another region and come back to give him a chance to spawn somewhere else. Now that's inconvenient enough. Even worse when you aren't aware of how this works. Like me, when I was cleaning up Soul Valley in my first playthrough, I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I couldn't find certain items that the scout had marked on my map. I was still in the same play session where Takabi had given me the teleporter chip. So because I didn't know that he was the one who was supposed to hand me these items, and I hadn't closed the game or tried going to a different region, my game was bugged. That isn't even the worst of it though. On top of needing to repair the Golem mech, the other prerequisite you need to meet before entering Chrono Tower is restoring the Memory Fruit, the vessel containing the record of the Lemorn's legacy that Samus was asked to take to a planet that's a little less. To fully restore the Memory Fruit, you need to collect these green energy crystals, and a load of them too. The vast majority are found in the desert. You'll mostly be using the Viola to drive into the smaller crystals or blowing up these larger rocks with power bombs to collect the spoils, which can then be deposited in the altar in Fury Green. What you're doing in Soul Valley, by the way. Just crashing and boosting into crystals over and over and over again. Sometimes turning back because you didn't collect the entire mass of crystals in one go, because your angle was off and someone decided it would be a great idea to lump individual chunks of green crystals close together instead of combining them all into one model. This isn't even the most annoying part. Looking at the footage, you might be thinking, this doesn't look so bad. There doesn't seem to be a shortage of crystals in the desert or anything, and you'd be right if we're exclusively focusing on the endgame. This is what Soul Valley looks like after you've cleared Icebelt, third level in the game, mind you. Quite a bit more deprived of crystals than what we saw earlier, wouldn't you say? It turns out, and I was fucking livid when I first learned about this, that the game limits how many green energy crystals spawn in the desert depending on the amount of progress you've made in the story. In other words, there is virtually no reason to collect crystals before nabbing the last teleporter key, since they don't even appear in the world until then. You'll barely make a dent if you try collecting crystals along the way, because there are so few of them for you to even grab in the early hours of the campaign. I had a few friends playing this game around the same time as me, wondering why their green crystal meters barely went up, after they felt like they had collected a bunch of crystals, and they were even more confused when it suddenly shot up, after doing half as much farming in the endgame. Is why. So, keeping the radar from you until you've acquired 75% of the required amount of green energy crystals, something that is only realistically attainable at the end. There are so many crystals in Soul Valley that you're practically tripping over them and the radar is basically useless. It's downright. Metroid Prime 4 discourages you from engaging with one of its headlining features until you're at the point where you just want the game to be over with. Oh, and by the by, after filling the green crystal meter and getting the Memory Fruit and the Legacy Suit as a reward, which looks pretty nice even if it is extremely derivative of Prime 2's Light Suit, you can technically fill the meter again for true 100% completion. Is 100% not worth going for, as it only unlocks some extra concept art in the gallery that I can just look up online if I really want to. Except I didn't know that until after I painstakingly collected every last godforsaken green crystal. Should I have known better? Maybe. But seeing as I also incorrectly assumed that I didn't need 100% scans to unlock the secret ending, since that's never been the case in the other games, then who the fuck knows? I don't feel like I'm entirely to blame here. Considering the way that Soul Valley shaped out, I really wouldn't have minded something similar to Prime 3's planet selection screen. It's more artificial, not as immersive or whatever, but neither is anything in this miserable sea of boredom. The regions of Planet Veros feel so isolated from one another anyway, may as well have been a level select instead of... Wake your ass up! The emptiness of the desert reminded me of Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field at first, but to give credits to Hyrule Field, it wasn't the only way you were able to get around. There was the river in the Gerudo Canyon that took you to Lake Hylia, and the two-way passages that connected the Lost Woods to Goron City and Zora's River. Again, it's about how effective the illusion the giant connected world is. I've seen a couple of folks draw comparisons between Prime 4 and classic 3D Zelda games, usually in reference to how the regions of Planet Veros are more reminiscent of traditional Zelda dungeons than they are of Metroid Prime levels. And hey, if that's why you enjoy Prime 4 as a pseudo 3D Zelda game, to you, that's awesome. But even looking at it through that lens, I'm sorry, in that case I'd see it as a 3D Zelda game. Keeping Ocarina of Time as the benchmark, none of the levels in Prime 4 are a candle to even the worst Ocarina of Time dungeons. And while I haven't had the kindest things to say about Hyrule Field in the past, its music, atmosphere, hell, even the secret underground areas within it that normally only hide a single chest with a blue ruby, vastly more appealing to me. It's desolate desert. I want a good Zelda-like Metroid game. Just go play Prime 2. Oh my god, I forgot to talk about the Great Mines. This area is absolute cheats. The out deaths with the Federation troopers are such a desperate ploy to get even the teeniest ounce of an emotional response out of the player. I was more emotionally attached to freaking Gore from Prime 3 than any of these clowns.
Well, Gore
I
was
even
fucking
like
awesome.
Anthony more. At least his death isn't undone a mere 20 minutes after it happens. Going through the level itself, this nothing but a barrage of grievers and narrow corridors. I'd rather play through the Phazon Mines 10 times in a row than endure one mind-numbing run of the Great Mines. Is the area this place is emulating, right? Right down to the boss being an Omega variant of the level signature enemy. Defeated in pretty much the same way you defeated most of the other bosses, which means more free aim. You know which item you get halfway through this area? Super Missile. Ignoring the fact that Samus's charged elemental shots have higher DPS, making the Super Missile next to worthless, this was the worst area they basically could have given you this power up. Because the Great Mines is also a sorts where it advised not to shoot missiles since the noise will only attract more grievers. What? They try to depict Samus as an actual character in this area by showing her visibly concerned about Armstrong and View deciding to stay behind to distract the grievers. It's too little too late, because until this point, Samus has spent most of the story, and not in a good way like she did in Dread, where she didn't let her stoicism stop her from speaking to reassure Quiet Road that she wasn't going to let Raven be conflict anymore. Not to mention that we get to see how she reacts to things with her eyes in Dread, in those moments where her visor is transparent. Meanwhile, in Prime 4, she purposefully ignores questions from her comrades that she has the answers to, and instead just lets them guess what's going on. At most, she'll show them what they want to know, but will never flat out tell them. She doesn't even have the courtesy of announcing herself when Duke, understandably, raises his gun at a shadowy figure that could be a threat. All this chatting, and Samus doesn't open her mouth once. Because of the way everyone else around her is written and directed, the decision to keep Samus silent makes her come across as a bit likable at points. I get that she tries to stay composed during missions, and considering that this supposedly takes place after Super Metroid and all of the other Prime games, obviously, one can theorize that Samus may simply be trying to avoid getting too attached to the Federation Marines.
After Super, like, I thought like all the Prime games took place in between 1 and 2. Is that correct? Yeah, I think that's true for like the original trilogy because there are like Metroids everywhere still. I think 4 might take place between 2 and 3. No, wait, no. Yeah, 3 takes place immediately after 2. Yeah, I don't know if they've confirmed the chronology.
In case things go south, afraid to re-experience the loss of people she cares about. Language in some cutscenes can be taken as evidence to support this interpretation. I would have greatly appreciated some more moments like these, and of course, some dialogue from Samus so that she doesn't seem so rude. As it stands, I think that they leaned a little too hard into making her appear detached, and it overshadows the few signs of empathy.
So you're legit bitching about Samus being a silent protagonist? I imagine this is the same kind of person who bitches about her talking in other M as well. So like, what is it exactly? You know, like I've been very vocal about this. Like, we do have to celebrate like the silent protagonist in game. Like, it is essential for immersion. And anyone who says otherwise
and
is
if they have managed to strike a better balance for conversation, at least a little easier to accept. After you know this mines and the last teleport, restore the memory fruit, teleport the Reno Tower. It's enters the story proper after spending the last dozen hours healing at a pub. So now it's time for the final battle. You go through the wormhole is neat, and the last phase builds upon the pretty stellar fake Silex encounters from earlier. He can even steal your energy tanks when in his lockjaw mode. But the first phase where he's in his force field and you're fighting alongside your allies, I'll admit it wasn't too bad in my most recent playthrough, but during my first
It's a
ever
great
encounter
fight.
with
It's a great
fight,
fight.
it was. I hate that you can't target the nanomachine tubes when it feels like you should be able to with how erratic their movements are. If you're unlucky, your companions will start getting knocked
Learn
down
to aim.
left and right, forcing you to stop what you're doing to help them back up with Psychic Visor? I don't know, boss. I'm tired. Anyway, Samus predictably puts Silex in his place and leaves him in the Phantom Zone. But because his hate boner is so massive, Silex is able to rip a hole through the fabric of time and space to get back to Chrono Tower and choose the teleporter terminal, knocking Samus on the floor in the process. A struggle ensues as the Federation troops try to keep Silex at bay, while Mackenzie and Samus work to restart the teleporter. Mackenzie takes a bullet for Samus, and it becomes increasingly obvious that Silex is not going to let up. With the teleporter going haywire, Samus has to make a choice. Waste precious time helping the squad subdue Silex and risk leaving them all stranded on planet Muros, or use the teleporter while she has the chance to save herself, guaranteeing that at least one of them returns home. I opted for option 2. That it would interrupt the ending.
No, this is actually a really good ending. I really have a problem with people who like spurred out about this. Like it really showcases like the sacrifice of like the Federation and really gives it this like melancholy feel. I would say Prime 4 has like the best ending out of any Metroid Prime game for this reason, but like no. Like
My utter
it
shock,
didn't
I
end
learned that I
happily,
had
so it's
actually
bad.
picked the ending, where Samus escapes on her own and is transported to another planet. She wastes no time in planting the memory fruit. It immediately sprouts into a small tree,
Aw.
and she hangs the Solon heirloom that Takabi had given her on one of its branches. Accomplished. Cost. Despite me not liking them a whole lot, seeing Samus leave her allies behind really rubbed me the wrong way. I think preserving the history of these bonds made more valuable than the lives of people who are still breathing. I couldn't fathom. This was how Metroid Prime 4 was deciding to conclude its narrative. The mere thought that a scenario in which Samus leaves others to die, no matter the reason or circumstances, was written at all, deeply upset me. I recognize that they were aiming for a bittersweet finale, but it's a finale that hinges on too many variables. Whether or not I ended up caring for the Federation soldiers, whether or not I ended up caring for the Lemorne, and whether or not I, at the very least, accept Samus's decision. I think you already know where I stand. Let's wrap this up. As I sat there and watched the credits that closed out my second playthrough of Metroid Prime 4, I was somehow even more baffled by what I had just played than I was the first time. There's a well-crafted game in here that I had nearly forgotten existed because it's buried deep underneath some of the most confounding story and design choices that I've had the displeasure of experiencing in a Metroid game. On the surface, Prime 4 looks and plays and sounds like Metroid Prime. But as much as I would have liked to say otherwise, it is an unmistakable step down from its predecessors in almost every conceivable way.
Oh yeah.
Talks and rumors
Oh
about
yeah. Is it worse than Other M? Are you suggesting it's worse than Federation Force? It is, by the way, worse than Federation Force. But good luck getting someone like that to admit it.
this being the start of a new trilogy, but honestly, I don't even know if I want another Prime game. And I'm not so petty that I'm only saying that because of how much of a letdown this game was to me.
What?
Had I been a little older when Prime 4 was first teased, I want to say that I still would have been excited for it, but I probably would have welcomed another shot at a true third-person Metroid project.
Whoa.
More. Other M was 16 years ago, guys. I think we're overdue for.
Wow. We're at the point where dudes are glazing Other M. Wow. Yeah, so he was in high school when Prime was announced. So yeah. Yeah, he was a kid when this came out. Yeah, this is probably his first exposure to the series. So we're at the point where people will unironically like damage control for Other M.
Take on that style of gameplay. In spite of how
Are people really upset that a bounty hunter has contact with people? I know, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand why people have such an issue with it. Like, it just doesn't. To me, I feel like a lot of these people are attached to Metroid because of memes and like its image, and like are kind of completely detached like what the brand actually is. You know what I mean? Like that's how I describe it to people. Cause like they always do these like buzzwords where they're just like Metroid is about isolation and being completely alone, and that's like to a certain extent that's never been true. Like the Federation contracted Samus in the first game, right? That was in the manual, and you actually get a partner in the second at the end where you get the baby Metroid. So like, it's not like the dead guy outside Kraid's door. Like there have always been like NPCs in Metroid. Like the idea that like you can't have NPCs in a Metroid game ever is like just completely insane. It doesn't make any sense. Hello, hello. Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm really ecstatic. I mean, yeah. I stopped playing Splatoon Raiders, and my numbers immediately spike. What a crazy
I was in
coincidence.
this video. If Retro really is working on Metroid Prime 5, I wouldn't immediately dismiss it. I can't ignore that there was still quite a bit I liked about Prime 4 at the end of the day. And I suspect that having a less scattered
Yeah. Absolutely nobody is gonna give up on Prime 5 just because of Prime 4. Because like when you really get down to it, what did this motherfucker complain about? Like the plot, the characters, and like the end game grind. That's about it. Like outside of that, like Prime 4 really doesn't have anything that wrong with it. And I think that's going to become more appreciated over time. Is that like people are just mad at it for like not being a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Yeah, it's bad. Blandrew, I haven't watched it. I guess I could look it up. I finally I adjusted my settings again, so I think we can just react. You can hear everything, right? I'm not just goodbye PlayStation. Landrew, yeah, I probably should have done like my PlayStation video. I don't know what I've been doing. I mean, I get that like yeah, I'm a gaming channel who doesn't want to talk about video games essentially. I'm too busy doing autistic shit and like releasing a book. Okay. Like I'm just like I just don't feel the need to like comment on this. And I know it was a big deal, and I know this is like the moment I've been waiting for like over a decade, and yet like now that it's here, I really don't give a shit. I don't know, man. My autism has like developed so much that like I don't even really think about PlayStation anymore. It's just like I just can't bring myself to care. I don't know. A part of me really hated like obsessing over like hating PlayStation the way I did. So I was always kind of like anxious to get away from that fact, to get away from that mindset. So I'm very thankful that I did get away from it. 'Cause I know a lot of people meme on me for this, but like, yeah, um, I do struggle with like autistic fixations, and it does. I mean, you're seeing this tonight. I think all I've been doing is just grinding the Elite Four. Like this isn't something like a normal person would do, but like I'm just having some like I just gotta I just got fixated on it. It's just like it's just one of those things. Like I don't know. I don't know. I need to focus, like, because I've been thinking about this a lot. I do need to focus on like trying to integrate myself more into like society again. Because I think for the past year, ever since I got fired, I've just been like locked in and getting my career off the ground and like being self-employed and all that. And now that I'm there, I'm just like, oh yeah, I need to go back to it. But like it's been so long that like I saw a girl I wanted to talk to today, and I just did not do it. I just felt like I don't know, man. Like she has a tattoo, so that's a red flag. I guess I'll just like not talk to her. It's like I don't know, man. Like, is that really like should that really be like the end all be all to like talking to a chick? Is that like, oh yeah, she's wearing a tattoo, and she kind of looks like a Democrat? Like, I guess I'm not interested. Like, I don't know. I probably should at least talk to her. You know what I mean? Before I make that decision. But like, I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of been my problem lately is that like I'm not as interested in sex as I used to be. And like I'm kind of thankful for that as well, but at the same time like I'm not married yet. So like I feel like, this would be fine if I was already married and I had kids and all that. But like that hasn't happened yet, so like I feel kind of behind. I don't know. Yeah, I've been going to the gym daily. Yeah. Yeah, fuck PC. Third parties are coming to Nintendo now. I think you're gonna see pretty handedly that like a lot of these third party games are actually like doing really well on Switch. I would argue that like a lot of them are doing better on Switch than they are on PC. I'm curious when we're gonna get Halo. Yeah, yeah. Look at this. Yeah, Xenoblade's doing really well, really well. I mean, that's not a third party game, but like, yeah, this game is like almost a decade old, and yet like it's the re-release has gotten it in the top 10. That's a big deal, I think. Yeah, Final Fantasy 14's on there. Fallout 4 and Skyrim's on there. I don't know if I should pick up Fallout 4, and I imagine I would hate it. Lives of P's on there. Is Lives of P outperforming? Oh, I think it's coming out this week. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles. Yeah, I would pick up Xenoblade Chronicles today if I wasn't playing so many other RPGs. I think I'm gonna do Tales of Arise first. But yeah, like I've been working so much lately that like it's been really difficult for me to do anything. Like I'm trying to take time to like do things now, but it's like I have so much going on that it honestly feels like I don't know that I don't really have time. Like I really think at this point that I need to become a millionaire. I need to relocate. I need to go somewhere where like um there's like some bookish girl and like marry her and like we're fine. We're good. And like I don't know, it just like I don't know. I'm pretty happy with where things are, but like, I think the reality of it is that like this is where what I should have been doing like 10 years ago. Like, I shouldn't have had to leave my parents' house. I shouldn't have had to like spend all this time working. I shouldn't have had to like, um, spend all this time and effort like trying to have a normal career. Like, I really should have been focused like entirely on getting a YouTube channel off the ground, living off of that while I worked on the books and tried to make that successful. Like that's really what I should have been doing. And like the fact that I became so like popular in spite of everything, I think speaks volumes about how that should have done. Like again, the YouTube channel's not going anywhere in my mind. Like it can't be taken away from me. Um, so like it makes more sense to focus on that than like a career that can just be like completely undermined by some retard like not doing their job. So like it's just like inflammation. It might be. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to try and get that checked out, but it just hasn't happened. Um, yeah, I have like so many number one priorities when it comes to like purchases I need to make that like I don't know when I'm gonna deal with it. And then there's like the very real concern that like because like every time I have gone, they try to like pretend it's like a mental problem or something, or that like just sleep more, man, and like that's not helping. So like um yeah, like I'm very concerned about like how they wouldn't actually help me because like I know that's what they're gonna do. It's just like yeah, I'll be glad when like AI replaces doctors completely, so we don't have to like go through this nonsense of them trying to uh like fuck you over. Yeah, I'm glad we're getting to the point where like doctors are seen as like scum, like universally. Because I think that's been true for a long time, but like I think the pandemic really brought that into the public eye. Like I still see people like bitching about the about that. I mean, like look at the way Fauci was is being treated right now. Like everybody knows he's a piece of shit, and like all the attempts at like trying to damage control him are just kind of falling flat. Yeah, like my problem with supplements is that like I tend to be pretty bad about like consistently taking them. I tend to forget. So um again, it's all just a part of being so busy. And honestly, like I will say this, I have been feeling better lately. Um yeah, honestly, I think if I lose like a bunch of weight, I should be fine. But that's probably all it is. But I don't know. That was how many beat. I kind of want to go to Lorelai's house and see how many plushies he has because she gets one every time you beat the champions. So. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of focused on getting through the Cattle Have Fangs, getting that edited, getting that out, so we can move on from it. And we really have to pick what we're gonna write next because like I said I wanted to do Passion, but like I think Passion has no audience. Like I really love Passion. Like I'm really excited for it, but like I'm looking at like my numbers, and I'm looking at my audience, and I'm just like, there's no way this is gonna do well with my audience. Like it's just kind of my mindset on it. Yeah, I think the main thing is that I have to eat more protein. Yeah, because I got my Fitness Pal in the past couple of days, and I was looking at it. Fats are fine, carbs are fine, but like for some reason, protein is way low, and I was kind of surprised by that because I felt like I was getting plenty of protein, but I guess I need to eat significantly more. I don't know. But yeah, I get plenty of protein from like my local farm subscription. So honestly, like I was thinking that like I might have to start like having meat like a couple of times a day. I don't know. I don't know. My problem right now is that I don't want to like spend too much money on groceries, and I've been trying to like really limit like my purchases. And yeah, I probably should get like protein through like different sources other than meat. Honestly, I'm gonna have to like look into that. Yeah, we still haven't done our Grand Blue video. It's like one of my favorite games this year, and I still haven't like done a video on it. I mean, I haven't finished the game yet, so there's a reason for it, but it's like Aerodactyl is like insanely fast. Is there anything faster than Aerodactyl in this game? Like, Zapdos isn't too slow either. It's weird watching like the anime today because like Indigo is just like it has a weirdly different tone than like what Pokemon would turn into. Like I think I think Gen 1 like kind of has a different tone as well, but like I think it kind of works. And like the anime it just feels kind of weirdly mean-spirited. Like Ash and Misty are always talking shit to each other and like I don't know, it feels a lot more grounded or like how people actually treat each other, but at the same time it's like I don't know. I kind of like the overly idealized view on the world in like later seasons. Yeah, I think Electrode's the fastest. Yeah. I think Electrode's the fastest. Yeah, I remember that blew my mind when I realized that like Electrode is a fucking ball and yet like it's the fastest thing in the game. Ocarina will be much talked about game mature. Yeah, I'm curious how it's gonna do because like I think people are gearing up for the narrative that like it can't possibly compete with Grand Theft Auto 6, but like I think the reality is that like it is going to compete. Like it is going to like establish the Switch 2 as a competitor to GTA 6. And it's going to be a major release that's going to be followed by other major releases while Grand Theft Auto 6 just kind of stagnates and it's just kind of like I think that's going to be the trend is that like people are going to like be religiously defending Grand Theft Auto 6 for years even long after like everyone's kind of moved on to like proper Nintendo games. So like I get this is why I call it like the last stand, where like this is like a game that can't be allowed to fail, and it really is this generation's like Cyberpunk, where like there's all these red flags about it, and like nobody wants to admit it. Ocarina comparisons to N64. Yeah, I saw like people bitching about potential censorship and like, oh no, are they gonna put Rudo in clothes? I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like I'm so tired of like these censorship discussions. Like I don't give a fuck. Yeah, so Joseph is 97. Yeah, so once Joseph maxes out, we're gonna take the EXP share. I think we're gonna put it on a random Pokemon actually. I'd like to evolve my Pidgeotto actually. Yeah, it's gonna be insane how hard people defend GTA 6. Like, yeah, because there's gonna be all these obvious problems with the game right from the get go. It's possible like it's completely unfinished, right? Because like I know I was speculating that like this might need another delay, but like yeah, it's very possible it's gonna have all these issues. I mean, like, first of all, like, it's not going to have online at launch. So they're going to try and lock you into the single player campaign, which nobody fucking cares about. Zelda influence you. Yeah, you don't see a lot of people talk about that. Like, people tend to write that off while they try and say that like Zelda was secretly influenced by Ultima or Wizardry or whatever. Zelda is just the Japanese take on the Western RPG. It's just yeah. I think I saw some tweet like the other day trying to like imply that Miyamoto admitted that like Western RPGs were the primary inspiration for Zelda, and that just isn't true. That didn't happen. For GTA 6, I don't think so. No. Yeah, it's all just cutscenes, I think. Like, if you remember what like GTA 5's trailers were like in that one, a lot of the trailers were fake, where they were just like running on like high-end PCs that made the game look like way better than it actually is. Like, I imagine GTA 6 is gonna be the same. Yeah, they think GTA is such a strong brand name that it's just gonna carry itself, and I feel like people need to understand that that isn't fucking true. Like people are like I feel like people are really underestimating GTA's like cultural impact and appeal. Like, when you look at someone like Eminem, like it's kind of crazy how he was like culturally ubiquitous in like the 2000s or whatever, and how he's like has been now, right? Like I feel like GTA is kind of has the same energy, honestly, where it's like very strictly a millennial thing, and like Zoomers just aren't gonna give a fuck about it. Yeah, I've actually found like the interviews that like people cite where they talk about this, and yeah, it doesn't happen. Like if anyone brings up like Ultima at all, it's always the interviewer and not like Miyamoto himself. Yeah, so I think even in the early '90s they were trying to spin this angle. Yeah, it's weird how they put like people like Will Wright or like Warren Spector or like Richard Garriott on a pedestal when like they haven't really done all that much, especially in the past like 20 years. Is Will Wright even working now? Like I can't imagine he is. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised we didn't keep getting new SimCity games after the Super Nintendo. Oh no, we got one for the N64 DD, didn't we? That is crazy that that's the last one we got. Yeah, people forget that like SimCity was like one of the five early like Super Nintendo games. It was like what that Gradius 3, Mario World. What were the other two? Yeah, SimCity was like a huge hit back in the day. So like it's kind of crazy that like it never they've never actually tried it again. Witcher 3 influenced Breath of the Wild. Yeah, Breath of the Wild was already well into development by the time Witcher 3 came out. Yeah. Yeah, Skyrim did influence Breath of the Wild, but like the influence basically just stopped at the whole like open world format. Like Breath of the Wild like innovated on the concept so thoroughly that it's honestly a completely different genre now. Yeah, why don't these people cling on to the Skyrim thing? Why do they keep trying to like meme Ultima into relevancy? Yeah, yeah, SimCity was big on like PC first, yeah. But like, this is like the inevitability of like every major PC game is that like it's just gonna get ported to console eventually, and it's why the PC is just like completely irrelevant as a platform because like you'll just get a better console version. Yeah, SimCity is one of those things where you don't really need like the newest like version of it or yeah, I'd say Nintendo's way more influenced by Minecraft than anything else right now. Like they've talked about that, how like they feel like Minecraft is like something they should have made, so they're trying to like capitalize. I mean, Pokopia did that, Breath of the Wild did that, Bonanza's kind of like that. They all have variations on that concept. Well, Minecraft is like a legit cultural phenomenon. It was like it's way more popular than like Ultima ever was. Like I don't understand like the insistence that like Ultima was popular because it was like the entire Ultima franchise
sold about like 2 million units. It's not a big deal. Like Dragon Quest is more relevant than it is here. Okay, in America, Dragon Quest is more popular. Like Ultima is like it's basically only beloved by like nostalgic boomers. That's it. Okay. Alyssa Eclipse Betrayal? Wait, what? There is Yeah, how many clicks do you need to make money on Twitter? Because I still have not received a payout from them. I haven't been trying very hard, but it's like, yeah. It is also given away a lot. Yeah. Yeah, so it's popular because it's just like it's cheap, it's friendly with YouTubers, and like kids don't feel pressured to like do anything in it really. They just kind of chill. And that's what I notice a lot, like when it comes to like kids, is that they just want to like relax and they don't want to like stress out about like beating games or anything. Like there are definitely people who get into stuff, but it's like yeah, they like the chill, laid back stuff, and that makes sense. But I don't know, man. Being a kid today must be awful. Like it's so terrible. I mean, it was pretty bad when I was a kid too, but like, I mean, I'm glad the kids in the family actually have like a support network because that was something I was worried about when like they were born. Is that like, oh no, they're gonna turn out like me? But like, yeah, not gonna happen. Thankfully, very happy about that. So thankful. Uh, but like, it was I was very concerned about that early on. Um, are you watching this, Iwata? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, really. Like, I think the problem comes when like they try and say that like it's the biggest thing in gaming or it's like the best thing in gaming. It's very clearly not. Like, I mean, I think what's gonna happen a lot is that like kids are gonna grow out of like the kid stuff and then graduate to Nintendo. Like, I think that's gonna be like the trend is where like Nintendo's just gonna be for like the more hardcore players. I mean, to be fair, that's always been true to a certain extent, but like, um, I don't know. I don't like how boomers like hyper fixate on like the stuff they grew up with and try and say it's better than like what kids today have because that's not really true. But got us something awful. Yeah, I never had anything to do with something awful. I have no idea what they were like. Like I know they charged like $5 to post on their forums, but like other than that, I have no idea. Like it seemed like a badass place going by what I've heard, but like yeah, I never posted on there. Like I see more people talking about Screw Attack these days, and that's I don't think that was anywhere near as popular. But yeah, you look at like what internet culture was back then, and it was just like a bunch of high IQ people like actually like having fun and talking about like cool stuff, like you look at like the crazy shit that people were making, like that terrible Secret of Animal Crossing Let's Play or like the fan art that came from that period. Like it just feels like it was all like way higher quality than like the stuff we get today. It's all just complete slop. Yeah, I wanted to go to. Well, like it wasn't woke at the time. Like what we got in the Diamond and Pearl localization was what we got were a bunch of weird like internet memes. Like what was in it? Does anyone remember? I actually don't remember. A lot of them I think are out of date. It's weird to think now, but like yeah, all the mods tuned out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's weird to think that it still exists today. And yeah, so yeah, I was thinking today, like how a lot of like classic memes are just kind of completely forgotten about. Yeah, neckbeard. Yeah, what are all the memes in it? I genuinely don't remember. Like, were they patched out of the remake? I don't think they were, but like, yeah. But I remember noticing that in like game in the when I played the game for the first time, and think it was kind of odd. How many like internet references were in it? Because I recognized a fair few of them, even though I wasn't like online at the time. Yeah, it really sucks that I didn't have my own computer, so I wasn't able to participate in a lot of what was going on in like the like at the time. Like I remember I probably shouldn't talk about that, but it's like I you look at like I missed out on like the peak internet, and then it started becoming more mainstream after 2008, and that's when I like started going on there, and I think the problems were already kind of pronounced because you would have like NeoGaf like controlling the narrative when it came to Nintendo, and like for as long as I could remember, they were like involved with like downplaying every major Nintendo announcement and like freaking out over everything they did and like just like You the man now, dog. Man, I saw the movie that website was based off of, and it's like the funniest fucking shit ever. Like Sean Connery, like, oh man. I hate that fucking movie though. So you're supposed to believe some black guy is some like literary savant. I'm just like, I'm gonna press X to that on that dog. Yeah, I love how they try to prove that he's like some like super well read guy. They have his like white love interest do this thing where like I'm doing an essay on like uh when Sherlock Holmes met Watson. And like I'm just like that happened in like the first 6 pages of the very first book. And I'm just like it's not exactly uncommon knowledge, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know if society's like recovered from like 2020 yet. Like it I don't I will say it feels like because they've tried to bring the pandemic back a couple of times. Like it does feel like people aren't having it this time. It's not going to be allowed to happen again because like people know more about disease now and they're like more willing to question doctors and like the government and all that. Um, I don't know. It's like I don't think we're at the point where things are getting better yet. We're at the point where people are like, actually demanding to have the problems fixed. And I think that's like way better than we were like 10 years ago. Like I think another 10 and we'll straight up be like having people like expelled from countries and shit like that. Um like I don't think it's that far off at all. Like after that invasion in Spain, like I think people are really starting to put it all together, like how like messed up this all is. Like they had that one white liberal chick like waving them in and like recording it, and apparently she went missing like immediately after that. So yeah, I mean, so if their enablers like keep getting like raped and murdered, like there's not going to be any opposition to it. Yeah, I mean, like this is why I tell people that like the most important thing we have to do if we're going to fix the problems is that we do have to remove women's rights. That's like the most important thing. Like everything else like is just kind of downstream of that. Like very specifically that's the problem. And I think we're approaching the point where it's like a mainstream talking point. Because like I read an article today that like 50% of like Republicans in like I don't know in DC like identify as groypers or something. I don't know what the actual statistic was, but I was just like, yeah, you just know that younger people are going in there with like the express like purpose of just completely undermining the system and actually talking about the real issues. Like we're not going to pussyfoot around it anymore, essentially. Or not that we ever did. It was like the boomers who did that, but like yeah, like I've said this before, but I really feel like once the boomers die, the problems are gonna fix like are gonna start getting fixed like pretty quickly. Like I feel like they're the only reason we're in this position because it's just them gaslighting people all the time and like refusing to address like very simple issues. And you're starting to see people calling out like the whole like refusing to hold women accountable thing or like not wanting to have kids thing and the travel thing. Like it's sort of like you're even seeing people clown on like the 6 foot thing, right? It's like it just feels like the entire drift is just kind of collapsing. Honestly, I think the important thing is to like not take what women say seriously, honestly, because like You are insane if you like seriously believe that women only like sleep with dudes over like 6 feet. That doesn't fucking happen. That's not true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's becoming more obvious, like if you actually because I have family members on both sides of the spectrum. The difference between conservatives who got married and had children versus like uh the fags is like uh startling. Because like the fags will like project as if they're happy and try to pass themselves off as if like everything's great. It's not true. If you spend enough time with them, it's really obvious. Um, it's like posturing basically. Well, like they have so much wealth, but they do nothing with it. You know what I mean? Like they're doing nothing but like fuck people. I would argue we don't even really need wealth. Like we need to just be given opportunity to make wealth, and that's like a completely different thing. Like boomers had it easy, but like we're willing to like work for it. That's actually what I've noticed is that like I think by the end of my lifetime I'll have quite a bit more than like the average boomer did. Because I made so many smart decisions and like the books and all that. Um, like I'm already like not working, so it's like I mean the thing about boomers is that like they don't really use their power other for anything other than like benefiting themselves. So it's like I see them as just being like holding everything back personally. Yeah, the SSRI thing is like crazy. Like I don't know. We really do need to start talking about how useless therapy is because that was my thing when I was with that like well anyway. Um like I hate it when women try to like shill therapy and like act like it's like some meaningful thing when like it clearly isn't. It clearly isn't. Like just fix your problems. You don't need a fucking therapist. We need to bring capes back. Like capes are fucking sick. That needs to be like the fashion that needs to be a fashion thing before the end of the century. Like we need fucking capes back. I remember like we were playing tennis and like one of the girls like wore a cape for some reason and like everybody was kind of clowning on her. And I'm just like, no, like as a way to identify if a man subscribes to leftist dogma. I don't think so. It's more like I feel like it's their replacement for like religion and like talking to a priest. I feel like it's just meant to be a placebo for that. I'm a fan of Homath. I think Homath is like way too bitter, and he needs to like actually get his dick sucked. Like I think a big mistake a lot of people make when talking about this is that like they blame women for this when like they didn't want this. Like women don't like this. They're just told to do this by society and they go along with it and like they don't understand why they're miserable. Like you shouldn't like think of women as the enemy. Like they're not the ones who introduced feminism. That's entirely like a Jew thing. Yeah, yeah, people don't realize this, but like Sopranos was like incredibly woke and subversive. Like if you actually watch it, you see them like try and like justify homosexuality and like all this crap. Like it's pretty woke, yeah. Yeah, I've never tried to watch Sopranos because I'm not an idiot, but like, um, that's like the trend I've noticed is that like a lot of the popular shit from the 90s and 2000s were they were already pretty subversive. Like you see people today like hype up Xena, like Warrior Princess, like, oh man, nobody had a problem with this. Like nobody was paying that much attention. Yeah, I don't understand like why they can't just make good shows like all throughout. Like it's one of the reasons I don't watch TV is that like the decline is so like I loved like the first season of Cobra Kai and I was intending on watching all of it, but like I stopped after season three because like the quality was going down. And it's like it's not even like because of season three being so bad because it was still like pretty solid in spite of like quite a lot of woke elements to it, but like uh, I felt that like even that 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 amount of decline wasn't worth sticking around with. I don't know. It's just like it's really disappointing, but like I think I really did make the right decision, and I really wonder if like why don't other people do the same thing? Why are there not more people addressing like the fact that like if a show goes down in quality, just stop watching it. Healthy dynamics, yeah. Well, I think the narrative right now is that like men are pursuing healthy dynamics, but like women aren't. So like I don't know. I'm curious what it's going to take to red pill women on this. I don't know. I feel like younger women are already like on board with it, but it's like the 30-year-old millennials that are kind of like no 30-year-olds are Zoomers now, aren't they? Yeah, it's more like the older women today that are kind of struggling. Yeah, end of season one. Yeah. Yeah, so disappointing, so disappointing. They want to sub Yeah, like I would argue a lot of the most subversive movies ever made came out in the 90s. Like when you think back to like American Beauty is the example I always go to. Like that is a film made by homos trying to like make like the American nuclear family look like miserable and like tired of life. Because if you think about American Beauty like thematically, like the gay couple are they are the only happy people in the film, right? Like they're pushing the narrative that like gayness is like liberating and that you don't have to like conform to society's norms. It's retarded and not true at all. But like that's the angle they go with it. Yeah, the fact that a lot of people like unironically think American Beauty is really deep. Like I honestly believe that like American Beauty specifically is what gave like Nick Rekieta his like warped worldview. Like I genuinely think that because like it's all about like pursuing hedonistic pleasure and like it pushes this idea that being a family man is like it's limiting and it just ruins like your potential and like the fun you can have or whatever. It's just like it's retarded. Yeah, I'll definitely have to like go back and like try and watch some of this stuff so I can like talk about it more accurately. I'd love to do that on the channel. I just don't know if it's ever gonna happen. Like it's been I've been meaning to watch American Beauty for years and I still haven't gotten around to it. Yeah, I think with a lot of like woke subversive stuff, like The problem it's traditionally had is that like nobody actually knows it exists or cares about it at all. Because like you've had gay comic book characters forever, and like nobody gives a shit. Because like nobody reads the comics. It's not because they're like accepted. It's because that like people just don't know about it. You know, like they shove gay characters in TV shows. People just don't watch it. Like it's they have to really like meme the show as like a huge cultural phenomenon to get people to care about it. Like the Simpsons is a really good example, right? The Simpsons is by far the most woke and subversive like American sitcom ever made, like bar none. It's really not even close. Uh, and yet like people really think at some point it was like some really clever show that like showcased like actual problems in America, and it never was true. It was like entirely intended to be a vehicle for like communistic communist messaging. And the fact that people can't see that is just like it's very disappointing. Demon Slayer, yeah, it did, yeah, yeah. Did they still try and deny that? Because like when that story broke, like the comic book industry like immediately tried to say it was like some misunderstanding or something. But like I'm gonna just press X to that on that because Demon Slayer is fucking huge. Like, was it like the biggest shonen of like the past of this decade so far? Because Attack on Titan ended in 2020. Yeah, is it still the biggest decade? Is it a Jump series? I think it is. I know it was written by a woman. I read the first volume and I got into it, but I never got into it, unfortunately. I've just been too busy. And honestly, I don't really like shonen anyway. I'm at the age now where I'm just kind of like, I read something like My Hero Academia and it just feels like cringy. Like I just don't really, I don't really jive with it. Like I like Spy Family because it's more family oriented. Um, Spy Family I think is quite a bit more intelligently written than most people give it credit for. But like, yeah, I like Kill Blue. Before that, man, Kill Blue falling off the way it did was embarrassing because like for the first like 50 chapters or so, it was like such a great manga. I was so into it. It looked so good. And they just pussied out. Like, why does it take place in a middle school? I feel like it would have made more sense if like the characters were in high school and like they were able to like play into the whole like romance dynamic a little bit more without it coming off as like cringy or creepy. Because it's just like it just feels like she's a little bit too young for that. It's like it just I don't know. Yet, like where I'm at now in the manga, I did not finish it. I'm on like the last 12 chapters. Like he asked her to marry him. Like the whole like thing like came out in the open, and he's just like, yeah, just let's just get married. And I'm just like, what? This is like fucking stupid. Like I don't know it. Yeah, it feels really sudden because like I feel like the I don't know if it was like dipping in the popularity polls or what, but I mean, it got an ending, but like, I was just so into it initially, and I don't know. Yeah, most disappointing ending to a manga I've seen. I dropped Chainsaw Man before that came. Yeah, what manga has come out recently and had an actually good ending? Because like Beastars fucking sucked, Chainsaw Man sucked, like Kill Blue sucked, like people bitch about Attack on Titan, but like Uh, the ending wasn't that bad. The issue is like kind of the execution and like the cringe Vengers and shit like that. The issue is that they tried to pretend that Eren Yeager was doing anything wrong. Um, like other than that, like I didn't really have a problem with it. Yeah, I really don't think it like started falling off until like the whole cringe Vengers thing. Like, it just makes me hate like every character. But that was part of that. It was just Higurashi, Kill la Kill, really. Well, like, okay, so like conservatives will never consume as much fiction as liberals because fundamentally, like the entire liberal worldview is like based on fiction. So like liberals by their nature just consume way more fiction than conservatives. It's just not really possible to like to outdo them in that. And honestly, you shouldn't even really try because like you should be focused on your real life, like what's going on with you, and like caring about like real things and history and people and current events and stuff like that. Like the liberal idea of like controlling culture through like fiction, it just has no real basis in reality. It's basically just propaganda, honestly, and it's not something we should encourage or like try to do. So like, because we want to like cultivate like a strong, capable, intelligent population. Like, it's not a good idea to just use the left's tactics, like, and hope they like work out for us. I don't think it would work. So I mean, there was like a slide to wokeness, right? Because like first you had like the rule purge in the '60s, and then you had like the slow, gradual decline into like degeneracy that we see today. Like you would still see like relatively like conservative leaning sitcoms well into the '80s. Well, I mean, they don't use as many Harry Potter references anymore because of like the Troon thing, which is actually pretty hilarious. Like, it's crazy to me that Harry Potter went from like legit extremist leftist like propaganda to being like conservative core, like just because of that. That's crazy to me. I mean, and I think that's the reality behind like the liberals writing fiction thing. Like fundamentally, if it's a good story, it is conservative. Because Harry Potter does promote good values. It does promote like it is pro family. It does emphasize the importance of like community and being around people like you, right? It literally takes place in a segregated society. Okay, like in a lot of ways, it's like the most red pilled like thing ever. Even though it wasn't really like intentional, it wasn't really meant to be that way. But like that's how it comes off to a lot of people, and that's kind of how I see it happening in the future. Is that like all of it is just going to be kind of an accident where we're going to get like more stuff like Harry Potter that just blow up and become big with conservatives. And like when they try to subvert and destroy it, it's just going to get replaced by something else. So it's just you don't learn from the opposition. Um, I don't really agree with that because like because liberals, like, nothing they say is true, right? So, like, honestly, like, you don't really have to, like, debunk anything they say. Like, all you have to do is just talk about what is true. And, like, what inevitably happens is that, like, liberals have to change their narrative, right? Because you see this happen all the time where they're, like, constantly, like, changing their, like, terminology and, like, their predictions and stuff like that. Because, like, none of it's based on anything factual, right? It's just a means of getting what they want. Liberal language still. Yeah, they use like they say like biological man instead of just man. You know what I mean? Like you can tell they're trying to ease people into it. Like I'm not going to be satisfied until like people just acknowledge that like Fox News is a liberal network. Honestly, like I mean, I think it's kind of mainstream now. Like, because I remember like talking about that in high school and how everybody would just kind of like just not accept it. But I think it's like more commonly understood now that like it is like inherently like a leftist institution. Like they basically just exist to control boomers, essentially. It took 51 hours to get Arcanine to level 100. Yeah, yeah, that is the perfect way to describe it. It's just, yeah, conservatives are just leftists from 10 years ago. Yeah. I mean, that's actually why I've been pushing this idea that we should um, like distinguish ourselves from like those kind of conservatives by like instead of glamorizing the past, we start looking towards what the future is going to look like. Because like that's always been the narrative is that like, oh, we want things to be exactly like the 1950s. You mean after the war when like society was already in the process of decaying, right? The idea that the 50s were perfect is just completely delusional, right? Considering what we know now. Like we have to accept that like we're gonna have to like do a lot to fix all these problems, and like it's gonna take a lot of work. And I think that's the problem is that like nobody really wants to work for anything. It's just like what I've noticed because like I'm probably one of the very few people who have like who have who has been working, who has been trying to do things, who has been trying to accomplish things. You know, I've written books, I have the channel, you know, I've done everything I possibly can, and yet like nobody really cares. Nobody does anything. Nobody watches my content on this stuff. It's just um but yeah, I think we're like getting to the point where like all the problems are going to be fixed. So pretty late. Yeah, it's August 4th. Man, when did they start streaming? Oh yeah, they did redesign Jinx in this, didn't they? Man, do you think they'll ever change Jinx back? Did they change it in the Japanese version? Yeah, I barely remember classic Jinx. Did classic Jinx ever appear in like Gen 1 or like the anime or have they always been recoloring in the West? I don't know. Jinx isn't a pretty popular, isn't really a popular Pokemon. So does like anybody like Jinx? Like, does anyone give a fuck about Jinx prior to the 1860s? I mean, things are different now. We really do need to like like I said, like we can't just keep looking to the past. We have to like really start thinking about like practical applications like we can do now for like to improve the future essentially. Like we need to stop like obsessing over like nostalgia and all that. The N64 games, really? I guess we could check that real quick. Yeah, I think it's safe to say at this point that like things aren't going to go back to normal after Trump. I do think things are going to escalate from here. How much they escalate it remains to be seen, but Ice and Psy. Oh, really? Where did you even get Shinx? I don't know if I've ever even seen one. Probably in the ice caverns with Abrakuno. But like, why the hell did I send an Arcanine? Yeah, I guess we could check. Fucking bastard! I'm not even like losing and I'm upset. Like, fuck. Like, what is he trying to accomplish? Like, he's just. I even used extreme speed. I guess you apply the full restore quicker than like Arcanine can attack. Why did I use Dark? I was I feel like it's been forever since I used any kind of like dark type Pokemon. Yeah, they were like one of my go-to types back in the day, but like, yeah, I don't know if I've ever like if I found one I really like in recent years. Okay, we're gonna 51 hours. Wow. Did we start at like 40 when we started grinding for this? Crazy. That is fucking crazy. Okay, what are we gonna do? Okay, N64. Yeah, we're gonna check the Jinx real quick. I don't know how long this is gonna take. Yeah, it's pretty early, but like I think I'm gonna turn in, honestly. Nintendo is a well-oiled machine right now. Yep, absolutely. Man, I can't wait until I'm at the position where is in, where I just rake in the cash. Uh, uh, uh. Wait, what? By the way, fuck Guru Land Larry. He has a tendency of lying brazenly about Nintendo products, but
To write things up even further, with the upcoming 32-bit generation, Nintendo, who are commissioning British question for Mark West, releases the bizarre, incredibly fast racing game about sentient unicycles. While all this was going ahead, the other side of the pond was Pixar.
So it's about unit racers. Yeah, a game that like nobody fucking cares about anymore. Yeah, what was the lawsuit about that like it resembled like Pixar's style too much? That's crazy that we don't talk about that, is that like Nintendo has had beef with Pixar. And it's they're the only reason that game's never been re-released. It's not like a great game or anything, but like yeah, it's weird that like that's there's a straight up Nintendo game that straight up can't get re-released because of legal issues. Yeah, I feel like a lot of racing games on Super Nintendo just aren't super relevant anymore. Like Stunt Racer FX was like a huge deal when it came out because of the visuals, but like it just isn't what are the chances we see Jinx like in the opening cutscene? Man, look at these bastards. Look at how hardcore this is. Fucking badass. Yeah, I love. Damn it, we can't even look at it. Did I delete my file? Hang on. Okay, yeah, pretty bad. Okay, I was just like, okay, anything goes. Yeah, what's Jinx? She's pretty far down, right? Did they remove Jinx from the game? Yeah. Yeah, I believe that's classic Jinx. Ah, shit, I wasn't in. Damn. I wasn't playing against a com player? And I haven't played Pokemon Stadium since I was a kid. I'm sorry, I haven't played with another person since I was a kid. This is one of our go-to games for a long time. Okay.
The free battle is on. The champions of tomorrow have begun their super hard battle.
No, I think they did recolor Jinx. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it is purplish, but it looks like. Did they change it in this re-release then? Yeah, I'm curious if like that's true in my base game. I mean, I'm not typically again, I don't typically care about like Jinx's skin color, but oh man, we still haven't like beaten Persona 4. Damn, we still haven't gone back to that. Well, like to be fair, we're still playing through like Grand Blue Fantasy. So, man, have we done nothing but grind and fucking Pokemon tonight? I think we have. But yeah, we really need to like be playing Grand Blue regularly until we beat it. I need to do a review on it. I need to talk about how good it is. But I haven't been able to do it yet. Nobody will hire me.
Okay.
And I'm so glad I don't have to work. I'm so glad I'm like as successful as I am. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for pre-ordering the Dream Warrior, by the way. Very, very excited about this release. I hope you all enjoy it.
We'll enter the castle through these
Really? Okay, version 1. Okay, so they had a re-release. Okay. Yeah, it did look awkwardly like recolored.
Ready. This time, I'm coming too. We'll save Lyria.
I'm curious what color my N64 copy has. Man, I'm really worried that I'm never going to go back and play the N64 again.
Make haste. The castle's underground should be just down this corridor.
Man, 4C Holocards. They didn't sign up for this.
Man, this is fucking gorgeous. Look at this.
Thought we cleared out this area. Get out of here, or face the silver wolf. Idiot, it's not true. Maybe Lilith will reward us generously for their heads. Hold back down. The power of the primeval gods on our side.
Primeval gods, huh? Amazing that term persists 600 years after I first formed Alia. Lilith and I were working on our experiment, studying the effects of sky to our emotions, such as faith, on primal beasts. She twisted the convictions of the masses, reshaping them as building blocks for this paramilitaristic cult.
Lady Lilith will guide us to the promised land. We do not fear death. Wizard Rook's troop will be your safe. Hold on till then. Well done.
Right? We did well.
On my mark, I'll support you.
No,
We're unstoppable.
I'm in full agreement.
This crew fights as one.
agreed. You can stay with
I'm a novelist.
Face your dominance! Now we have to deal with you on battleship? This is not in my job description.
We don't have time to repel all of them. Stopping Lilith comes first.
Wait, Roland. Weren't you the one who sealed Honor Mine you?
Indeed. 500 years ago.
You couldn't find a better location? For Scotty's sake, putting a primal like that under a damn metropolis.
Forgive me. It was the height of the war. And I needed a place inaccessible to an astral Lilith.
So you chose an enemy stronghold. Not exactly a conventional plan, but effective nonetheless.
How dare you fabricate these lies about Lady Lilith Astral Origin? You will learn to stay your tongues, interloper.
And you can't keep up with the plot. It's just so confusing.
You really do.
Finally broke through. Onward and downward.
Soldiers are not to blame for Lilith's machinations.
And yet they're the ones paying the ultimate price.
A little debris won't stop us. Allow me.
You can clear rubble. Think you can clean an airship?
What's the pay like? Shall we talk price? Quickly! The undercroft should be close.
Nice.
Cannons. These Avia jerks do not play fair.
We can take refuge in the cellars below. There's no way their fuselage will reach us down there.
I just hope they stop firing completely. This castle's too pretty to be destroyed.
It's gonna take half a miracle to bring down that carrier. So do we run or?
Judging from the position of this event. Tower. Harris.
Oof. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit too worn out. I mean, I'd like to keep playing, but like every time I try to get around to it, I just keep getting like
Let's head there.
just wanting to take a break. And I like the game a lot too. It's just
Now we face the interlopers who routed Wolfgang.
yeah. Once we beat this, we're gonna do Persona 4, and I think after that we're gonna pick up Tales of Arise. I think we are not getting Elden Ring. We're not getting Lies of P. Yeah, I think after Tales of Arise, we're gonna do Final Fantasy 14. I'd like to do Final Fantasy 14 first, but like honestly, I thought about it, and I'm way more hyped for Tales of Arise, so we're just gonna do that. I gotta go return Digimon actually.
They would die before doubting Lily. She has been utterly.
Maybe now's not the best time for effort. Let's save this deep brainwash until after the fighting, shall we?
You promised the sight on the salvation, ushering us toward doom. Lilith, you are a fiend.
On me, of course. That went smooth. Thanks to you, Lancelot. Panacea!
Let us take them.
I'll handle this. Understood.
Well done.
Right.
I could
Let us
speak
prepare for the next foe.
on struggles. Let us win and look out.
Let us end this.
I might as well.
Nothing. Go. All together. You have my aid. Take this!
There are no heights we cannot scale.
Understood.
Like the game is so good at being like endlessly entertaining.
No,
Understood. I support you.
it's not over yet.
Oh.
Don't even think about coming back. Now then, we better keep moving. You guys smell treasure?
You're so damn slow. They just work out their clothes. Why haven't they come yet? General Magley out. Said they were worn out from Dolly.
Ah, they're a bunch of babies. General Galazzo would never let us have nap time.
No. I never shut on this one. I was always interested in it. Like I was gonna get it on Steam at one point, but in the end I just chose to wait for it. And I'm glad I did, but it's just crazy how shit just happens in this game.
They really deployed it. The Tayuatara. It's research thing. The multiple legs allow for maximum stability and maneuverability. It has high firepower and horsepower, and a certain je ne sais quoi. Sorry, just like you blow anything else up. So maybe we could try to salvage it.
Let's grab this thing before it shoots us straight to Kingdom Come. Knock its legs out. That should do the trick.
Before we miss our chance.
Not often you see sensor malfunctions like this, caused by a short circuit within the mainframe, perhaps. Oh, maybe.
Who cares about all that? Just need to destroy it, right?
Sorry. Yes, that's the plan.
Family. That's not good.
We won't be able to lay a finger on it while the boosters are active. Focus on the base for now.
I was thinking lately, it's about time for another playthrough of Final Fantasy VI. It's been a while.
Tayuatara expends tons of energy while boosting.
It shouldn't last much longer than that.
If only we could explain it to death.
Yeah, I think after this we're gonna have to call it quits. I am yawning too much. Not because the game is bad, but like, man, I'm just tired. So I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna.
Exchange of weaponry? Everyone, be on guard.
Slightly hit harder than Ratchet. But he doesn't move like the wind.
Its legs should be lightly armored compared to the core. That's where we should focus our thoughts.
Nothing.
How did it switch to its power reserve so quickly?
Yeah. Panacea! There! Here goes! Through the front seat! Tempest flame!
The actuators in its limbs are beginning to burn. The pressure differential should resolve this. Sorry, our assault is working.
Survival!
Too late for regret. Butterfly. No. Perfectly executed.
A little training goes a long way.
Maneuvers.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much better this is than Final Fantasy VII-R. Which is also on Switch 2 now, by the way. Yeah, like all three Final Fantasy VII games are gonna be on Switch 2, and I do not give a fuck. I kind of wanted to play Rebirth because like there were things I liked about it, but like I don't know. I can't imagine that good. The third one isn't called Resurrectionist. What even is the third one called? What is it coming out next year?
We beat the screws out of that robo.
Well done. And what a relief we didn't completely destroy such a fine specimen.
Hold on. Hear that humming? I don't think we're out of the woods yet.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna
if I recruit a little help?
Wait, we're gonna fight this thing?
Of course, I could use it to fight off the others.
What is with this game?
You even have a license? Where need for licenses? It'll be easy to cover you.
Yeah, I still need to pick up Dragon Quest 1 and 2. I have not like bought either of them.
Oh, come now. You criticize these models. We focus, prepare our cannons.
I don't know, man. I don't see myself getting another Dragon Quest thing until DQ Monsters comes out. And that looks like shit. Like, I don't get why is it about the waifus from DQ5 hanging out together? Like, nobody on Earth wants that. Like, or at least not with like Bianca. Like, make it about like Deborah and Mira and like Navy, but like fucking Bianca. Like, I have a massive hate boner for like Bianca as like a concept. Like I don't talk about this much, but like Bianca is like the childhood friend thing is like something I cannot stand. I just hate the idea of it. The idea of marrying somebody I grew up with is like fucking terrifying to me. I don't like the idea at all. So like it's really obnoxious to me how like adamant they are that like they keep doing it. I don't know. It hasn't been as prevalent in recent games. Like the girl in 11, Gemma, she wasn't nearly as obnoxious. She actually came off as pretty likable, so I didn't really have a problem with that. But for the Game Boy Color, really, yeah, it's crazy that like yeah, I think we're just gonna boot it up again tomorrow. It's crazy that like DQ actually got like quite a lot of like high quality ports on the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color. Like, you know, I remember like, you know, a while back seeing Nintendo Power like coverage of it and just being like surprised at how much effort they put into like promoting it. I mean, like Dragon Quest, I'm sure has always been kind of like this low key, really popular thing, and it's just I'm glad to see it's become more popular over the years. I myself got into it with the remakes of like DQ 4 and 5, or specifically 5 on DS. So people really have like been getting into it over the years. But like anyway, yeah, I have got to be getting to bed. I am exhausted. So thank you all for tuning